I'm Rich Thomason. Maybe the biggest test yet of the Iran war ceasefire. Responding to Iranian aggression in the Strait of Hormuz, the American military fired on Iranian forces, sinking 6 small boats as it moves to keep the strait open under President Trump's Project Freedom initiative.
The U.S. says 2 of its guided missile destroyers have already made it through, along with 2 U.S.-flagged merchant vessels. Iran has already reacted angrily, deploying cruise missiles and drones in an attempt to thwart the mission.
The BBC's David Willis, the president, says the Iran war sends a message loud and clear to U.S. adversaries, including one in particular.
It's better to get along with China than it is to fight with China. And they feel the same thing. And don't kid yourself, they watched what happened in Venezuela. They watched what happened in Iran. Because militarily, Iran is essentially over.
The president talking with the Salem radio network's Hugh Hewitt. Suspect in yesterday's shooting near the Washington Monument is hospitalized, facing multiple charges. Man spotted with a gun near the White House complex was shot by law enforcement officers after opening fire on them.
I'll point out that not long before this shooting occurred, the vice president's motorcade did transit through this area.
Secret Service Deputy Director Matthew Quinn, the White House was briefly locked down, but a presidential event that was going on inside was not interrupted. Lawmakers in several southern states meeting to consider redistricting plans. Alabama, Tennessee, and Louisiana lawmakers looking into how to redraw districts in light of a Supreme Court ruling striking down a race-based congressional district in Louisiana. Wall Street this morning, stock futures pointing to a higher open later on. Dow futures are up 122 points. The NASDAQ futures ahead 159, and the S&P futures are 24 points higher. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Here's something most people don't know. When Warren Buffett was just 13 years old, he didn't put his money into a savings account. While other kids were earning next to nothing at local banks, Buffett put $114 into a little-known investment. Today, that $114 would be worth over $15 million. And it wasn't a risky trade, it wasn't insider knowledge. It was an account that's been around since 1888, and over the last 25 years, it's averaged 29% a year. That's what happens when your money is allowed to compound. Compare that to today's savings account, paying less than 0.5%, while inflation quietly eats away at your buying power. Buffett understood early, banks are great businesses, just not for savers. If you'd like to see what some investors call the 29% account, go now to ask29account.com. That's ask29account.com. Ask29account.com.
Police in Germany are holding a suspect in a deadly vehicle attack that they believe was no accident.
Authorities say that a driver plowed into people in the center of the German city of Leipzig, leaving 2 people dead, 2 others seriously injured. The driver stopped the car himself and was in the vehicle at the time he was detained. Leipzig is one of the biggest cities in eastern Germany. The incident occurred on a street that leads to the city's shopping district. No word yet on a motive. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
A massive explosion at a Chinese fireworks factory has left at least 26 people dead, dozens more injured in the blast. Hundreds of rescue workers have been digging through the debris of several buildings that were flattened by that powerful explosion. Armenia is hosting its first European Union summit, marking a deepening of ties. It's been years in the making. The summit underscores Armenia's disillusionment with Russian foreign policy. News and analysis at townhall.com. Best show in town just around the corner, and it's free.
The Eta Aquariid meteor shower will soon light the sky with debris from Halley's Comet. But a bright moon will spoil the fun this year, making the display harder to glimpse. The shower will peak Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, and views will be best in the southern hemisphere. In the north, sky watchers will likely see fewer than 10 meteors per hour. Meteor showers happen when the Earth charges through trails of debris left behind from various space rocks. To glimpse the meteors, it's best to go outside just before dawn and look for fleeting trails of light. Keith Peters reporting.
TV and movie actors have reached a tentative 4-year contract agreement with studios and streaming services. The deal must be approved by the union's board and ratified by the rank and file. If it is approved, it would prevent a repeat of the 2023 actors' strike. More on these stories at townhall.com.
In 2008, the amount of concentrated time people could spend on a task without becoming distracted was 12 seconds. 5 years later, it was only 8 seconds, 1 second less than a goldfish. If you're often distracted or have trouble recalling information, you're likely to fall behind in the demanding, fast-paced 21st century. In other words, brain performance is more critical now than ever. Boost your brain power with Healthy Cells Focus Plus Recall. Science-backed nootropics to help you sharpen focus, concentrate longer, enhance recall, improve mental speed, learn rapidly, and be more alert. It's a pill-free brain supplement made with maximum absorption ingestible gel technology, designed to feed your brain at the cellular level. Take it for a test drive. Go to healthycell.com and use code GODZILLA for 20% off your first order of Focus Plus Recall. That's healthycell.com, code GODZILLA for 20% off.
Hey parents, plan an unforgettable summer. Send your kids to Rapidan Baptist Camp in Rochelle, Virginia. 1 week of nonstop fun and life-changing truth. Amazing preachers, friendly counselors, exciting activities. Ride an alpine coaster and zip line, a 250-foot water slide, and that's just the beginning. Junior camps for ages 7 to 12, teen camps for 13 to 18, 2-day Pee-wee camp with mom and dad for ages 4 to 8, and a brand new day camp option. Sign up today at camprapidan.com. That's camprapidan.com. Rapidan Baptist Camp, where faith and fun collide.
Folks, this is Crom Carmichael, CEO of Soul Tea. I have recently turned 77 years old. I do not take prescription drugs. I have not had to take prescription drugs, and I attribute a lot of my good health to a product that I've been taking, which is the active ingredient in Soul Tea. It's a 22% concentration of theaflavin. We did clinical trials on it 25 years ago and found that it helped lower cholesterol. We have had many, many hundreds of letters and emails from customers telling us how it has helped them not only manage their cholesterol, but lower their triglycerides and help them on their blood pressure. And I can't tell you how much I attribute to Soul Tea for my good health at age 77. And I encourage you to go to GodzillaHeart.com. That's GodzillaHeart.com. And use the code Godzilla at checkout, and you'll get a 50% off on your initial shipment of Soul Tea. And I promise you it will be a great help for your heart health. Thanks so much.
Hey folks, Al Green here for SatPhone. When you're on the go, you want to know you're connected. If it's a family vacation or an off-the-grid escape to a remote destination, having reliable communication helps you feel safe and secure. You can't afford to find yourself in a dead zone. That's why you need SatPhone. SatPhones are reliable, durable, and give you global coverage. If you can get outside, you can get in touch. It's that simple. Make calls from your SatPhone to any regular cell phone in the United States. The phones are $1,500 value, but you can get yours free. Just sign up for a 15-month plan, $94.95 a month. Get 150 minutes monthly that roll to the next month. Go 3 months without using them, that's fine. Yes, 3 months, 450 minutes, all yours. Visit SAT123.com or call 855-980-5830. SAT123.com, 855-980-5830. Get surety and security with your SatPhone. Call now.
Washington is wasting $500 million every year on a federal supervision system that doesn't work. Probation officers are overwhelmed. Resources are going to people who pose zero threat, while actual dangerous individuals slip through the cracks. The Safer Supervision Act stops the waste and refocuses every dollar on protecting families from harm. President Trump's own pollster found about 80% of Trump voters want this fixed. It's time for Congress to get this done. Stop the waste. Protect our communities. Visit safersupervision.com. Paid for by the Reform Action Fund.
Happy Tuesday morning, listening family. Hey, Cinco de Mayo, I think, right? May 5th? This is the John Fredericks Media Network. I'm Dan Hobb. Good time for a look at weather and sports. We'll start where I am, as always, in Richmond, Virginia, capital of the South, where the high today will be 86 degrees. That's too warm for my liking. Low tonight of 61. Right now the temperature is 59. Squirrels start a homestand at Carmax Park against Akron tonight. First pitch at 7:05. Moving on to the nation's capital. In Washington today, you'll see a high of 88 degrees, a low of 63. Right now, the temperature is 62. Nats welcome the Twins to Nats Park for a series starting tonight. First pitch there at 6:45. Well, Atlanta, the Braves suffered a rare loss last night on the road against the Mariners in Seattle, 5-4. High today in Atlanta of 81, a low of 62. Right now, the temperature is 52, so ought to be a fairly nice day in Atlanta. Philadelphia. Well, you were winners last night in Miami, 1-0. The A's come to town for a series beginning tonight. The Flyers lose to Carolina 3-2 to fall behind 2-0 in that playoff series. Oh no, sad face. High today in Philadelphia of 86, a low of 63. Right now the temperature is 62 degrees. Morgantown, you're looking at a high of 80, a low of 59 with some late rain. Right now the temperature in West Virginia there is 64 degrees. All right, Yinzers, the Buccos are on the road this week in Arizona. First pitch tonight, 9:40 p.m. Have fun with that, Michael Coleman. High today in the 412 of 75. Possible thunderstorm this afternoon. A low of 57. Right now the temperature in 412 is 62. Okay, bringing you today's weather and sports update is the Godzilla Wins radio show for the best insight, analysis, and picks. Watch and listen to Godzilla Wins Saturday mornings from 9 to 11 all across the John Fredericks Media Network. Plus, to get John's daily sports picks, go to GodzillaWins.com. Once again, that's GodzillaWins.com. This has been your Gorilla of Truth, your deplorable of the Oracles. Dan Hobgood for the John Fredericks Media Network. Outside the Box with the Ox is next, followed by the Godzilla of Truth, the Oracle of the Deplorables, John Fredericks himself on the John Fredericks Show. Stay tuned, everybody.
Minneapolis sports bars.
He's the voice of Virginia.
Minneapolis sports bars see boost in revenue as professional teams continue playoff runs. Channel 5 News headline Sunday. The story features how a bar owner gambled on hopes of playoff teams when he opened a really big sports bar a year ago. The Wild, Timberwolves, and Frost, whatever they do, all being in the postseason is boosting his numbers by 3 to 4 times. The story says the Minneapolis Downtown Council estimates that one Timberwolves playoff game alone could add up to $1.5 million for the city. Meanwhile, back at Super Friends headquarters in St. Paul, the legislature wants to give $100 million of your dollars to Minneapolis businesses claiming hardship due to Operation Metro Surge. The Democrat machine has worked for 2 generations.
You can't turn the ball over 5 times like that. Holy crap. I don't know who the hell we think we are when we do something like that. Unbelievable. 5 turnovers. One of them, we've thrown 4 interceptions for touchdowns this year. That might be an NFL record.
School boys' bathrooms. If they'd have worked half as hard as they did on all this to instead figure out a scheme to force our professional sports teams to win, bars and restaurants would be printing money and government would never consider bailing them out. Thinking outside the box, devious and clever as they are, the Democrats must have deemed it easier to re-engineer the values, norms, and mores of an entire civilization than figure out how to get a Minnesota sports team to win a championship. Here outside the box with the Ox in the Eastern Time Zone and now in West Virginia on the John Fredericks Media Network.
You can't turn the ball over 5 times like that. Holy crap. I don't know who the hell we think we are when we do something like that. Unbelievable. 5 turnovers. One of them, we've thrown 4 interceptions for touchdowns this year. That might be an NFL record. That's pitiful. I mean, it's absolutely pitiful to perform like that. Pitiful. What's that?
He's the voice
playoffs.
of Virginia.
What are you talking about?
No, you can't.
Playoffs?
You have one of the worst
you kidding
voices
me?
I've ever heard in my
Playoffs?
And the commander
I just hope we can win a
common
game.
sense.
Fire at will, Commander.
Now back to the John Fredericks Show.
I am your Godzilla of the Truth in America, your Oracle of the Deplorables. Great to have you with us on this May 5th. Press conference today, 3 o'clock, being run by Marco Rubio. I guess, I don't know if that's a joke or if he's taken that on his portfolio as well, but he is listed as the press conference. It doesn't say with Marco Rubio. He is the guy that's leading the press conference. So pretty soon he'll be manager of the Boston Red Sox, I guess. But that's at 3 o'clock today. That's going to be an absolute zoo. I came here really excited about these things because I've been doing it for a long time, but I'm coming to dread them because there's no room. You can't move. People don't follow the rules. Most of the rude people now are on our side, to be quite candid. The younger MAGA type people, there's camera cases in and tripods everywhere. None of those are supposed to be there. They're all stacked against the wall. and everybody's trying to get their little soundbite. So it's just really become an uncomfortable situation. It really is uncomfortable. And you're in a time right now where there's just a lot of rudeness going on both sides. I mean, half the rudeness is our young millennials and Zoomers. That a lot of them women that get very upset if they can't get in a position to ask a question and get a soundbite. And most of them don't even represent a legitimate network, but they're there, and I value that. But there's just no excuse as you get older. There's just no excuse for rudeness. There's just no excuse. And you got to follow the rules. I follow the rules. You don't bring in tripods. You don't bring in camera cases. You don't bring in huge bags, computer bags that are this big. You just don't do it. And those are the rules. They're posted, but people do it anyway. But we'll have an update coming out of the White House after that. That's at 3:00 today. But enough of me. More about you. Let's talk about me. What exactly did that mean? I'm your Godzilla of the truth in America. Well, we're fired up. I think we're going to win these midterms. I love the fact that what the president is doing right now in the Straits of Hormuz, we've got enough assets there, and now we've got destroyers that are escorting ships through, and we need more of them there to escort more of them through. Let's get every one of them through, and then let's blow up any Iranian vessel that is shooting on us, like they're shooting drones or shooting missiles. They got these little speedboats. I think we sunk 3 of them yesterday, killed the crew. Let's sink 10. I think we're done with this. I mean, we're done with it. I don't even know what the hesitation is now. There is no ceasefire. When they're firing at our destroyers, where's the ceasefire? They don't own the strait. This is international waters. Just clean them out of there. Clean them out. Now, I don't know what Hegseth or the president is waiting for. I just want these people eradicated. What happens to the regime, what happens to the Iranian people, that's their business. I don't really care. But I want the strait opened. I want to take these islands. I want to end this once and for all. And we're going to get that uranium out of there if we got to go take it ourselves. This is now what we have to do. And now I don't even care how long this goes on. Another month, whatever. It's irrelevant to me now. And everybody whining about this or that or the economy or gas. Look, these people, you look at the way they're behaving now. You're going to tell me if they had the capacity to get a bomb, they wouldn't have already launched it on half the capitals in Europe or threatened it or done one of them and threatened more? Do you really believe that now? This is a regime run by crazy people, and they got to go, or they can't have the ability to threaten the world, which is what they were down, the path they were down to get there. That's why I support what President Trump is doing. I support the effort to take them out. And there's going to be some pain, and there's going to be some discomfort, and there's going to be high gas prices, and whatever else may come with that in the short term. But once you get these people eradicated from the face of the earth, and we find out who's in charge, and I don't care who's in charge, just get the uranium and open up the straits. 2 goals. That's it. And we're getting the resources there to be able to do that. This is the United States of America. The fact that we're being held hostage in these straits, which are international waters, that has gone now for a month. Is incredible. And I think many of us are getting sick and tired of the wait. Excuse me. Many of us are getting sick and tired of the wait. We're getting sick and tired of the shenanigans. I mean, to read yesterday that they're firing on us, they're firing on our destroyers, missiles and drones. Are you kidding me? This is like unbelievable. There is no ceasefire. And I think you're going to see something happening here very, very quickly. There is not a ceasefire. 888-480-JOHN. You want to weigh in? 888-480-5646. Another shooting yesterday, 3:30 p.m. outside the White House. That is exactly where Ann and I were yesterday at about 3:15, walking the cat back from the vet, which was an experience all in itself. Sammy got his vaccine. Sammy got a shot. Sammy got his nails clipped. Sammy got this. Sammy got that. $550 later, I'm walking my cat home in a cat stroller, a pet stroller, whatever you call it, down. But Ann and I were right by there. And one young man, 15, got hit. We don't know if he was hit by the Secret Service or he was hit by the gunman. So there's a gunman right by the White House. It was 15th and Independence, which is a block and a half, 2 blocks from our house, right by the White House, right by actually where the Eisenhower building is. And this guy was armed, and the Secret Service saw him, and they told him to drop his arms. He didn't, and he opened fire on them, and they fired back and shot him. This is a block and a half from the White House. And then a 15-year-old young fellow caught in the crossfire, not life-threatening, thank God. We don't know what the extent of the injuries are, but he was hit somewhere with a stray bullet from either Secret Service or gunman. First, the cops said gunman, then they took it back and said, well, we'll let the doctors figure that out, but appear to be the gunman. Now, why is a gunman walking down by the White House armed? Eventually, one of these is going to be successful. I mean, I don't know why you would even think that somebody walking down Independence Avenue and 15th Street, I live on 15th Street, walking down Independence and 15th Street by the White House, armed with multiple weapons, brandishing them, is there for a walk in the park. I don't think so. It's another crazed individual. The rhetoric on President Trump is unending. I mean, I went through, Dan, like the socials today, or the Gravian clips, and it's just one after the other, with these people calling President Trump every possible name in the book. And people that are deranged, this rhetoric is inspiring them to attempt assassination, and they think they're going to be a hero. It's another shooting, a week after the White House correspondent shooting. Now, Secret Service was obviously there, and they got rid of them, but unbelievable. I mean, it's something else. And you're really concerned now about these multiple attacks on this president, now on a weekly basis. You have to think the worst. Eventually, one of these is not going to fail. I mean, they're just nonstop. And the fact that we've got politicians saying that President Trump leveraged the shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner to sell his ballroom, these are indeed sick people. And we're dealing with sick people. And let me tell you how sick the Democrats are. They're trying to run Fetterman out of the party. They basically have one moderate, John Fetterman, and they're trying to run him out. But you look at this guy in Maine who is getting enormous earned media. He is on every major channel every day. It is enormous what he's getting. And this guy is okay, let me explain what this guy is that's running for U.S. Senate in Maine. And it's not that far behind winning. I don't think he's going to win. But let me explain what this guy is. This guy, Platt, he's a revolutionary communist. Do you understand that? Like, he wants a revolution. He wants all MAGA people jailed and in internment camps. This is a revolutionary communist who is going to get, even if he loses, in the mid-40s of the vote share in Maine against Susan Collins, who is a moderate Republican. You think about where this country's going. You think about where the Democrats are going, and everybody has embraced him. They don't care what he stands for. All they know is they got a D and they might get power. They got a D and they might get power. Say it again. It's a D and they might get power. That's it. They don't care who this guy is. They're all embracing him now. He ran off the former governor. He was so far ahead. The movement in the Democratic Party, this is a communist revolutionary movement. And we're all sitting around worrying about, well, what happens if we put off an election? Didn't matter to Louisiana. It's not going to matter to Tennessee with their governor. Didn't matter to Jeff Landry. Shouldn't matter to Brian Kemp in Georgia. Kemp should call a special session. Of course, he's not, because he never does. Well, we got an election coming up. It's too complicated. Well, wait till 28. No, there will be no 28. Do it now. Now, that tells you right away what Brian Kemp's intentions are. Governor of Georgia. Tells you right away that his intentions are not to run for president. Because if he was going to run for president, he'd call a special session. Because there are no Republicans that are going to vote for any governor in Iowa or New Hampshire that didn't call the special session when they had unconstitutional districts, like Landry did, like Kay Ivey did in Alabama, like Tennessee did. Because he's trying to get, Governor Bill is trying to get a job in the administration. That's why he did it. Also pressured from Senator Blackburn. Now you start adding these up, and it's 10 to 12 seats if we can pull this off. Now there's a lawsuit in Florida against DeSantis maps. You know where that lawsuit's going? Nowhere. This is over. They can sue all they want. They have nowhere to go. No one is going to overturn this map, which the Supreme Court said is now up to the General Assembly. And it is within the Florida Constitution. The Virginia map is not. That's why that's going down. I don't know what the vote will be, 5-2-4-3-7-0-6-1. That thing is going down. That is unconstitutional according to the Virginia Constitution. That can't get appealed to the Supreme Court. The Florida maps can. They're up to interpretation. Virginia's not. They're going to lose those 4 seats that they think they have, and we're going to pick up, if we do this right, 12 seats. Could be 10. Minus the 4, you're plus 14. Now you got a fighting chance to win these midterms. Yes, and I know this voter fraud. We got John Goodman coming up and talking about that. That's kind of where we are here. All right, let's get to the phone lines. Looks like I got time for a caller or two. Let's get to line 1, Rob, New York. Rob, you're live.
Good morning, John.
Good morning.
Very, very good opening. Very, accurate points. The one thing I do want to say with all these continued threats that President Trump is facing, and this is something I'm very clear with my kids on. Words matter. When you start throwing those words out there, it's not that they actually believe that he's a racist, a Nazi. It's that when you use words like that, or dictator, autocrat, you give these people a reason to think they're doing a good job getting rid of you. And that gives them permission for the violence. The left owns political violence in this country. I'm not saying there's not some crazy nut right-winger out there. There probably are. But the left owns the political violence. And I don't know how we get ourselves out of that. I really don't. I mean, this is awful for the country. Because, I have to go explain this to my kids, why people romanticize this stuff, or how they think Luigi Mangione is a celebrity, for killing the CEO. I get it. You don't like the healthcare CEOs, but that doesn't give you the right to go kill them on the street or take shots at the president. Or this guy yesterday may have been looking to take out Vance because I think Vance's motorcade was nearby. That's what I heard. I could be wrong. I agree with you on Iran, but the only problem I have with Iran right now is what the oil markets are doing. I don't understand why oil is so high. There's no shortage of oil. We have plenty of it here. Other countries can get to that oil. It's not our fault that Europe didn't want to help us. Europe relies heavily on that area. That's their problem. They outsourced a lot of their other energy. They're crying about prices. Well, maybe you shouldn't have given your energy security to Putin. You know, they have oil off the shores. They had nuclear power plants in Germany that were shut down. I don't understand why they're crying. They did it to themselves. And I think Trump was smart taking 5,000 troops out. I think he should take out more. Let them feel the pain.
I think we should
We've
take them all
covered
out.
NATO enough.
Take them all out.
Yeah.
Why do we have troops in Germany? Why do we have troops in Spain other than to protect our interests and bases? Our bases for our interests. Other than that, the hell are they there for? Get them out. All of them. You're not going to help us. Why are we standing around playing patty cake with these people? They won't help us. Why should we help them? I mean, I just think we need a tougher view of foreign policy. Tougher view. No wars. Trump campaigned, he said he wasn't going to get any wars. Well, he also said he wouldn't let Iran get a nuclear bomb dating back 40 freaking years. Okay, he's not changed on that. Not changed. One guy had the balls, had the courage, had the gumption to do what's right and take these people out after 50 years. I'm going to be right back. Thank you, Rob. I'll be right back with your calls. John Goodman next.
Hey folks, Al Green here for Sat Phone. When you're on the go, you want to know you're connected. If it's a family vacation or an off-the-grid escape to a remote destination, having reliable communication helps you feel safe and secure. You can't afford to find yourself in a dead zone. That's why you need Sat Phone. Sat phones are reliable, durable, and give you global coverage. If you can get outside, you can get in touch. It's that simple. Make calls from your Sat Phone to any regular cell phone in the United States. The phones are $1,500 value, but you can get yours free. Just sign up for a 15-month plan, $94.95 a month. Get 150 minutes monthly that roll to the next month. Go 3 months without using them, that's fine. Yes, 3 months, 450 minutes, all yours. Visit SAT123.com or call 855-980-5830. SAT123.com, 855-980-5830. Get surety and security with your sat phone. Call now.
The Cats and Cosby Show.
It's the top news of the day.
This show knows things before anybody else is transmitting it. I said 5 minutes after we make a deal, the price of crude oil is going to go down $20 a barrel. Well, it went down $20 a barrel today.
It did.
15 days from now, and if it looks like we have a good deal, it'll go down another $25 a barrel.
Cats and Cosby, 5 Eastern, 4 Central on the John Fredericks Media Network.
And that's a good sign for us, obviously, and for the free world.
The Trump administration has brought a lot of positive changes when it comes to fixing our broken healthcare system, but there is only so much the government can do. And if we really want to make America healthy again, that starts at home, and that's where the Wellness Company comes in. The Wellness Company allows you to make sure you're prepared for whatever happens with their prescription medical kits, which contain an assortment of life-saving medications and guidebooks to assist in the proper use of these medications. The Wellness Company also offers a variety of health products, from parasite cleanses to methylene blue to weight loss and so much more, helping you stay healthy and live a longer, better, healthier life. Make America healthy again. That starts at home. So do your part and protect the health of you and your family. All you have to do is go to twc.health/Godzilla today and order. That's twc.health/Godzilla. Use promo code Godzilla to save 10%. That's twc.health/Godzilla.
1775 Coffee is giving away free starter kits. Try the dark or medium roast coffee with longevity blend, an infused blend with anti-aging calcium alpha-ketoglutarate, which has been clinically proven to reduce biological age. When you purchase the first 2 bags, you'll receive a free 1775 starter kit, including a third 16-ounce bag of coffee, a matte black tumbler, a frother, a gold scoop, or a reusable K-cup filter. Just order now at 1775coffee.com/Godzilla and claim your free 1775 starter kit while supplies last.
Buddy Carter, warrior, great guy.
President Trump and Buddy Carter are working to help Georgians keep more of what they earn by passing the largest tax cut in history, eliminating taxes on tips and overtime, and making the child tax credit permanent.
Buddy Carter, warrior, great guy.
From day one, Buddy Carter has stood with President Trump on his mission to make life more affordable for working families. But while President Trump and Buddy Carter were protecting our wallets, Congressman Mike Collins was abusing them. Congressman Collins is under federal investigation for misusing taxpayer funds to benefit himself and his cronies. According to the investigation report, Congressman Mike Collins, quote, may have violated federal law by shelling out government funds to one of his top aides. Georgia families have had enough of wasteful, corrupt career politicians. We just can't trust or afford Mike Collins. Paid for by Buddy Carter for Senate.
I'm Buddy Carter, and I approve this message.
John Fredericks.
It is the most egregious thing I've seen in a lifetime.
President Trump.
The whole thing is ridiculous.
When politics start getting wild.
They want to have every single thing that you don't want. Raise taxes, men and women's sports. They're going to open up their border.
Trump hits the speed dial.
Thank you for calling in on such short notice.
You came first, John.
Wake up with the John Fredericks Show weekday morning, 6 Eastern, 5 Central on JFMN.TV, the massive J-Fred radio network, and all across the social.
You came first, John. Thank you very much, and you do a great job.
Don't touch that dial. You found your home of the truth.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
With the best analysis in America.
You can't handle the truth.
And now back to the John Fredericks Show.
You're back on the John Fredericks Media Network. John Goodman coming up, 888-480. John, you want to weigh in? 888-480-5646. Truth and clarity. You're going to get that right here. We are the voice of the people, and we want to hear from you every day. That's why President Trump calls in. That's why we are so popular. But look, we want to hear from you. Your voice matters. 888-480-JOHN, 888-480-5646. And love to get your thoughts on a lot of the things that are going on. We got some great clips coming up. We got an awesome show for you today. We're packed. We're actually packed today. Let's start with one of my favorite scriptures, Dan. Let's just start with that. This is from John 8:12. Again, Jesus spoke to them saying, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. It's one of my favorite scriptures, John 8:12. Start with that. Let's get, we're going to get to Goodman here in a moment. Let's get to Rob. We already had Rob. Let's get to Steve in Virginia. Steve, you're live. Go, line 2.
Good morning, Chairman Fredericks. Thanks for taking my call.
Yep.
Just very quickly, I want to say that yesterday I came across an article that said that relationship experts are saying that young people today, young men, should consider when buying a engagement ring for their intended that it should cost at least 2 full tankfuls of gas. That's from the Babylon.
Very funny, very funny.
But that's for your Zoomers out there.
Right,
but,
got it.
We've gone back and forth about the issue with the clickbaiters and all of the people who have turned on Trump because of world events, and it's occurred to me, it's like I hear so many young people saying, well, he was, he's a convicted, and I'm not going to use the R word, but he sexually assaulted people and stuff like this. And it's like, allegedly, well, he paid $90.
It's not even allegedly, dude. It's all false. It's all lies.
Right.
All of it is lies.
Exactly.
But see, if you say it over and over and over, and this is what the fake news does. They say it over and over and over and over and over. They put it all over social media over and over and over, and then people actually believe it. And that's what they've done. That's how they have demonized this man. I've never seen anything like it, and it's getting worse. And this is why we had another gunman walking a block and a half from my house yesterday while I'm walking my cat back from the vet. I was a block from there at 3:15. A block. I mean, this is crazy, but they're never going to stop. They're not going to stop until we just defeat them. That's why there's no way back. There's no way back machine. There's no way out of this. There's no kumbaya. There's no reconciliation. There's a divorce. And that is, we win, you lose. And they're going to be in the ash heap of history. And that's it. And that's why, you know what? Everybody out there whining, don't whine, win. Whiners don't win. Don't whine. Stop whining and win. Get whatever you got to do, like I'm doing. Get up every day, go run for office, against all odds, take the abuse, whatever it takes. You got a country to save. These people we're dealing with are nuts. You saw it again in D.C., in my city, yesterday, a block from where I live. Some guy walking down the street, Vance's motorcades in the area, fully armed. This is Washington, D.C. You don't do that here. You get shot. Incredible. We got to find out more information. Steve, thank you. I'm going to read this from Taurus and then get to Goodman. Taurus caller in Richmond, one of my Democrat listeners, thank you, says, but he's reasonable. He's not nuts. Taurus is not nuts. He says, good morning, John. Here's a little different question this morning. Why was Great White scratched from the Kentucky Derby after flipping over Saturday? The horse looked fine afterwards. Was it precaution or protocol? Absolutely 100% precaution, not protocol. Because when a horse flips over like that, before he's going in the gate, you have no way to tell if there's anything wrong. None. It's just not enough time. You got to take him back to the barn. You got to go over his tendons. You got to go over his knee. You got to see where he fell. You got to see if anything got bowed, right? You got to gallop him around. You got to put him in a paddock. All precaution. Last thing you want to do is something happened. Maybe he had a hairline and then he goes down and then like there's an 8-horse pileup and horses have to be put down. That was all precaution. And if I was the trainer, the owner, or anything involved in that, I would have wanted to do the same thing. Now, when that happens, you can't, there's too many little things that can go wrong. So, these things happen. And if you've ever seen a horse go down with that many horses on the track in the middle of the pack, I mean, 3 or 4 horses behind him go down, then they have to be put down. Jockeys are hurt. I mean, you get trampled at 35 miles an hour because you get thrown down. Now lives are at risk. So absolutely did the right thing, Taurus. But good question. All right, let's get to John Goodman. John Goodman, South of Florida, has been working on President Trump's executive order. We're working on not getting illegals to vote, working on mail-in ballots. John, give us an update.
Hey, good morning, John. Thank you for having me on this morning. So bottom line is the elections are coming up quick, about 178 days. And we have been waiting and waiting for the SAVE Act to pass, but it's not going to pass. It doesn't have the votes. And I've been saying for a long time that even if every single Republican had voted for the SAVE Act, it would still be 7 votes short. So I want to break some news on your show right now, John, that President Trump had a national security emergency locked and loaded, ready to go 6 months ago, along with a 17-page executive order that dealt with everything in the SAVE Act, election-oriented, proof of ID, or voter ID, proof of citizenship, the old-style absentee where the only people that could vote by mail were elderly and overseas military and disabled. Well, he was talked out of releasing that national security emergency and the EO because he was told the SAVE Act was going to be the savior to our elections and that he wouldn't have to deal with courts and appeals and challenges. And unfortunately, President Trump took that advice And now that it's obvious that the SAVE Act is not going to pass because Democrats and Rhino Republicans are not voting for any bill that takes away their cheating. So it was obvious that the SAVE Act was in trouble a month ago. But now the Democrats are trying to run out the clock. So me, along with a friend of yours, Wayne Allen Root, we were talking on the phone, and we came up with an idea. Why could that national security emergency not be released now? And the reason it would be is a combination of 2020. We have proof that China interfered in our elections. Kash Patel has that. And there's no question that millions of illegal aliens are voting in our elections, continue to vote in our elections. So we have submitted to President Trump's legal team and Peter Tickton and Jerome Corsi and other people that are on his team, and they like the initial idea. And here's why. If President Trump was to try to release an executive order right now, John, you know how slow the judicial system is. It would never make it through the appeals and to the Supreme Court in time for the midterms. But a national security emergency takes effect immediately. And the key is, in order for the Democrats to undo President Trump's national security emergency, they would need a 2/3 majority in both the House and the Senate to overturn or undo President Trump's national security emergency. So he could do that today, and it would be in effect. And that 2/3 majority that I'm talking about to overturn it, that would be needed by both the House and the Senate. They have 6 months to come up with 2/3 majority in both houses to take it down. That was the 1983 Supreme Court ruling. President Reagan made a big stink because originally you could take down a president's national security emergency with just a simple majority. And President Reagan in the early 80s was really pretty upset about that. He said, Congress should not be able to take down a presidential national security emergency because it's an emergency. And the Supreme Court ruled the only way, as I said, 2/3 majority in both chambers within 6 months of the time President Trump signs the national security emergency. So the SAVE Act was well-intentioned, John, and I'm not here to hate on the SAVE Act, but it caused President Trump to not pull the trigger months ago. And now that he is, my understanding is he's going to be pulling the trigger, but you would probably know that better than I because you have direct communication to President Trump that most people, including myself, do not have. But I guess we need to be urging President Trump to go ahead and release this national security emergency because there is no cavalry coming. There is no cavalry coming. There's no other plan on the table. And if it's not this, that can be done immediately without courts and within the time frame, we are going to be in the same situation as we were in 2020, John, but even worse because Joe Biden let so many illegals into this country. There's a lot more illegals now than there was in 2020 in this country. So that's the only plan that really is realistically makes sense, that can really affect and take away a lot of the cheating, a lot of most of the illegal aliens voting. And that's what we have proposed to the Trump team. And I hope you'll get behind it very much also, John. There really is no cavalry coming with any other option.
Well, if he does this, what is the factor of it? You know, there'll be court cases filed against it like immediately to stop it. And so that'll just stall it, right? So every judge in the world will be chomping at the bit to say it's not an emergency, and they'll all give it a stay, and then it's dead in the water like everything else we're doing.
Well, we don't think that's going to happen, and this is why. Number one, the Supreme Court already ruled that to take down a presidential national security emergency, you have to have 2/3.
Right, but they're going to say it's not an emergency. They're going to sue and get a judge in San Francisco saying, "Well, this is not an emergency." So
the bar is
that's the red herring in this, right?
No, well, I mean, here's the deal: the bar is so high to be able to take this down. But I do want to say this, John, that I don't see how it'll be challenged even, and neither does Wayne, neither does their team, because how can it be challenged? There's not an emergency. California is very public with their motor voter. Millions of illegals automatically get IDs and driver's licenses and voting rights. In Nevada, you can walk up and just say, I want a ballot without any ID. So the challenges will not hold up, and they won't even make it to court because the Supreme Court says there is no court. Just get 2/3 majority in both chambers. So that's not going to be the case. That's not going to be the case. The court's not even going to hear it because the Supreme
why don't
Court.
they do it?
Say again?
Then John Goodman, why don't they do it?
Well, we just proposed this about 7-8 days ago. So that's why I contacted you, John, and said, look, there is no other option on the table, there's no backup plan. And this is not able to be obstructed by the Democrats.
Well, I don't know why they just wouldn't take a shot and do that. The SAVE Act is dead. They're not even debating it on the floor. They couldn't even get it to a vote on the floor. This is how weak and feckless John Thune is. Oh, forget about getting rid of the filibuster and actually passing it. They couldn't even get it to the floor, John, for a vote to see who was going to vote no, which would have been all the Democrats and probably 5 Republicans, right? Probably
Exactly.
5, 4 or 5. So at least 3. 3 had already come out against it.
Right.
3, I think it was Tillis and I can't think of the other. Tillis, Murkowski, and somebody else had already come out against it. So maximum you were going to get is 50 votes. Put the vote on the floor. They wouldn't even do that. And you know why they wouldn't do it? Because it wasn't going to pass. You know why he wouldn't do it? Thune wouldn't do it? Because it would have cost Murkowski her seat. She'd have gotten beat by the former governor in the next primary. That's why Thune wouldn't put it on the floor.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. That was the reason.
That's my conjecture. That's not fact. That's John's hypothesis.
Your hypothesis, though, more times than not, John, are correct. So
about 100% of the time.
Yeah. So you call it a hypothesis, but I call it this is what's going to happen, right?
I mean, I don't know why what you crafted. There's no downside. There's no downside to doing it because the SAVE Act is dead. They're not going to do crap. So why not take a shot? Take a shot with it and see what happens. You got a phone call. Let's get to Timbo in Orlando. Tim, you're with John and John Goodman. Tim, go ahead.
Oh, good morning, John and John Goodman shows. Okay, I'm from this is Tim from Orlando, and it is going great in Florida. I mean, Florida is now living in Hakeem Jeffries' brain. He calls us out daily. I love it. I love it. Things just can't get any better in Florida.
Well, that's good. And there's a challenge. There's a court challenge to DeSantis maps. It's going to fail. It's going nowhere. They're not unconstitutional as they are in Virginia. And the Supreme Court has already ruled. So the Florida Supreme Court is not going to overturn it. So that's dead in the water. And these maps are real. And you're going to get 4, maybe 5 seats.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And, they were given the last rites to Rudy yesterday in Palm Beach, and he miraculously came back around. The drugs took care of his pneumonia, and he is awake and ready to go. So even our hospitals are fantastic in Florida. Yeah, we're gonna miss Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Murkowski and Frost and Frederica. We're gonna miss all those people. It'll be great. We'll have some new blood in there to represent Florida. It'll be fantastic.
Are you going to miss John Goodman? Are you guys going to miss Jared Moskowitz?
I'm gonna rent a plane for him to fly as far away as he can get. I'm gonna pay for the charter right out of my checking account. You've got it coming. And by the way, congratulations to the Republicans. The Supreme Court ruling on redistricting. John, you are so correct. Any Republican governor that has districts that fall into gender and minority that does not call a special session, I just have to believe, I have to think rhino, and I know that word's used so much. Why would you not call a special session if you have districts in your state that violate the Supreme Court's ruling and you can change them or to Republican seats? Why would you not?
That's my point exactly. I mean,
True.
that is my point exactly. And the excuse that Brian Kemp is using, because he's got one, is, well, elections are coming up on May 19th. Well, too bad. They were coming up in Louisiana and Governor Landry put them off. They're coming up in Mississippi and Governor Tate put them off. Well, he's having one. He'll do that. He doesn't care. It's like, put them off. The maps are fraudulent. They're illegal. So you put it off. Too bad for the politicians. Like, screw them anyway. I don't care about them. I care about fair maps, getting seats, playing hardball, and that's what Brian Kemp should do. And he's the only one that hasn't done anything. Even Alabama did it. Even Kay Ivey did it.
And in your state of Virginia, I think what got them was the greed. 11 districts in Virginia. It was 6-5. And instead of the Democrats trying to get 1 or 2 extra districts, they went for 10 out of 11. And even judges could say, that's not just redistricting. That is an absolute power grab. I think their own greed got them in Virginia.
That's not why it's going down. I mean, that is up to the General Assembly, and the Supreme Court has said that. They can make whatever maps they want. That's part of the ruling. The Virginia's going down because they violated the Virginia Constitution. They clearly violated it as far as an intervening election, and that's why it can't hold. Otherwise, you might as well take the state constitution and put it in the trash heap, because that's why it's going down. Timbo, do you have a question on or a comment for John Goodman on his executive order plan?
National security emergency.
Yeah. Go ahead. Is it?
No, I'm for it. Hey, no, I'm for it 100%. I think it's a good plan, and I think President Trump got some bad advice on that. But he's learning. This is his second administration. He's doing a lot of things differently this second time around. But I'm going to disagree with you, John. I love you. I think you're great. But I think Virginia is going to get some bad news on that Supreme Court, because these judges in the Washington area, which includes Northern Virginia, are just strange people. I mean, the judge yesterday apologized to the D.C. shooter in court yesterday for his conditions in prison. So, I mean, it's just different. That's all I'm saying. We're right. It's against the Constitution in Virginia. You're right. You're absolutely right. Unfortunately, a lot of people leave court feeling that they didn't get a fair shake. That's all. That's all I'm saying. I mean, just expect. Hopefully, they'll do the right thing. But I don't know. You just have weird judges up there.
He's right, John. He's right, that caller, because what we saw with the Obama judge apologizing to the Correspondents' Dinner shooter back to elections, that'll be a status quo if Hakeem Jeffries is running the House and Capitol Hill's run by Democrats. They'll be apologizing to the terrorists who get caught and put in jail. That'll be status quo. So I'm glad the caller mentioned that. And also, I want to say to you, John, you really are the oracle of the deplorables. I remember back early stages of Spanberger's campaign when she was running it as a moderate. Every day you were telling your fans, she's not a moderate. Don't believe it. She's not a moderate. And as it turns out, she's anything but a moderate. She is so far to the left. She's a notch away from having breakfast with AOC tomorrow morning.
I'll tell you what, John, let's get back to Tim. We're going to let Timbo go. So, Timbo, here's the deal. Okay. If I'm right and the Supreme Court overturns Virginia, you have to max out donations to my campaign. How's that sound?
You're going to the well twice, John. I'll match what I gave you ahead of time. I gave you money. I'll match what I did last time.
Okay, deal.
I'm on a confined budget. John. And I support your campaign because every single one of us that wants to run for office is going to run into headwinds like you have, and just expect it, know it, and fight through it.
All right, I'll take
them up.
I'll take the match.
Right,
John Goodman. He's gonna do a match too. He's all over this campaign, Johnny. John Goodman, thank you. People want to follow you. Where do they go, John?
Thanks very much, John. I am on Getter. You can follow me at John Good 1965 at JOHNGOOD 1965. You get updates on Tina Peters,
All right, John, we
elections.
got to go. Thank you,
all of
John.
that.
I'll
Okay.
be back after top of the hour. Stay with us.
This is WJFN Goochland, Bonaire, Chester, and WJFB Portsmouth, part of the John Fredericks Media Network.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. President Trump's mission to open the Strait of Hormuz has cost the Iranians at least a half dozen of their small boats. The U.S. military sank the boats after they tried to stop Project Freedom by firing missiles and drones. President Trump tells the Salem radio network's Hugh Hewitt that the Iranians have taken some heavy losses.
They had 159 ships, Hugh. Now they have none. They're all at the bottom of the sea. Today we took out 8 of their, they're reduced to these small little fast ships.
Right.
They're very cheap, and they attach a machine gun to it. They think that's good. We knocked out 8 of them today, and everyone that was available got knocked out very quickly and very efficiently.
And Secretary of War Hegseth delivers an update on the Iran situation later this morning. The man who was shot by the Secret Service near the White House yesterday is hospitalized, will face multiple charges. Authorities say the suspect fired first. If nothing else, they're persistent. Alleged narco-terrorists trying to get their deadly cargo into the United States.
The U.S. military says it's launched another strike on a boat accused of ferrying drugs in the Caribbean Sea. The Trump administration's campaign of blowing up alleged drug trafficking vessels in Latin American waters has persisted since early September and killed at least 188 people in total. Despite the Iran war, the series of strikes have ramped up again in recent weeks, showing that the administration's aggressive measures to stop what it calls narco-terrorism in the Western Hemisphere aren't letting up. Aya Panjwani, Washington.
Primaries today in Indiana and Ohio, and that includes a GOP gubernatorial primary in Ohio. Watching Wall Street this morning, stock futures pointing to a higher open later on, and Dow futures up 125 points. The NASDAQ futures ahead 161, S&P futures better by 24 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Advantage Gold, America's #1 precious metals company, is sounding the alarm that a storm is coming and that now is the time to diversify your portfolio before it's too late. That's why we're offering an emergency gold and silver protection kit valued at $49, absolutely free for anyone who calls today at 800-900-8000. This kit includes critical information for investors with a retirement account seeking to own physical gold and silver but want to do it tax and penalty free. Advantage Gold has helped investors protect and secure their wealth with physical gold and silver since 2014. Call Advantage Gold now at 800-900-8000 and we'll rush your emergency gold and silver kit plus a free copy of Ken Rogoff's book, Our Dollar, Your Problem. See how gold and silver can help you protect and secure your wealth with the help of Advantage Gold. Results vary. Consult your tax advisor before investing. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000.
Authorities in China say an explosion at a fireworks factory in a central Chinese province has killed at least 26 people, injured 61 others. China's official Xinhua news agency reports the blast occurred at a fireworks plant in Hunan province. Hundreds of rescuers deployed to the scene, residents in danger zones evacuated. Authorities are investigating the cause of the blast, and police have detained the person in charge of the company. Local media reports that all fireworks manufacturers across the region have been ordered to halt production immediately. A driver has plowed into people in a busy shopping area in the German city of Leipzig. 2 people killed, and the mayor says 3 others seriously injured in what officials believe was a deliberate act. An unspecified number of people sustained less serious injuries. The driver, a 33-year-old German citizen, was detained in the car. Police say he's a German-born resident of the Leipzig area. News and analysis at townhall.com. A TV show has been revived on radio.
The radio station WKRP isn't dead. It's now live on air in Cincinnati. The call letters from the fictional station featured decades ago in a CBS sitcom were adopted by stations in the Cincinnati market in time for the morning Monday drive. The station's co-owner says delighted listeners have been mobbing the phone lines. The show WKRP in Cincinnati ran from 1978 to 1982. It starred Lonnie Anderson, Howard Hessman, Tim Reed, and Richard Sanders as bumbling newsman Les Nessman. Keith Peters reporting.
Vice President Vance visits Iowa today, first visit since taking office to the state where in less than 2 years Republicans will cast the first votes to pick their party's presidential nominee. Vance, seen as one of the GOP's strongest potential candidates for president in 2028. More on these stories, townhall.com.
Folks, John Fredericks here. A word from Red State Marketing. Business owners, your competitor down the street, well, they just showed up when a customer asked ChatGPT who to call. Did you? Search has changed. Google AI, overviews, and ChatGPT, they're answering buyer questions. And if your business isn't in those answers, you're invisible. Red State Marketing, well, they fix all that. American-built SEO for American businesses. Get your free order today at redstatemarketing.com/JFRS.
Washington is wasting $500 million every year on a federal supervision system that doesn't work. Probation officers are overwhelmed. Resources are going to people who pose zero threat, while actual dangerous individuals slip through the cracks. The Safer Supervision Act stops the waste and refocuses every dollar on protecting families from harm. President Trump's own pollster found about 80% of Trump voters want this fixed. It's time for Congress to get this done. Stop the waste. Protect our communities. Visit safersupervision.com. Paid for by the Reform Action Fund.
All right, folks, I need you to do something right now. Go to johnfredericksradio.com and take our brand new 2028 Republican presidential straw poll. Who do you want leading the ticket? Don't let the elites decide. Make your voice heard. While you're there, weigh in on two huge issues: eminent domain reform and President Trump's tariff policies. Are they protecting American workers or hurting growth? This is your movement, your vote, your voice, your choice. Go to johnfredericksradio.com right now and take the poll.
1775 Coffee is giving away free starter kits. Try the dark or medium roast coffee with longevity blend, an infused blend with anti-aging supplements clinically proven to reduce biological age. When you purchase the first 2 bags, you'll receive a free 1775 starter kit, including a third 16-ounce bag of coffee, a matte black tumbler, a frother, a gold scoop, or a reusable K-cup filter. Just order now at 1775coffee.com/Godzilla and claim your free 1775 starter kit while supplies last.
It's finally here, our second annual mega sale. This sale only comes around once a year, so take advantage of the best offers ever while you can. For example, save 50% on our Giza Dream bed sheets, as low as $29.98. And for the first time ever on TV, MyPillow mattresses and MyPillow mattress toppers as low as $99.98. And you save 50% on our Lux Pure 6-piece towel sets. Regular $69.98, now only $39.98. And our best-selling standard MyPillows, regular $49.98, on sale for $17.98. Wait on it, mega sale, only $14.98. But wait, there's more. To make the mega sale even more special, when you order right now, your order's gonna ship absolutely free.
To take advantage of the second annual mega sale, go to mypillow.com or call 800-854-0504 and use promo code Godzilla.
Buddy Carter, warrior, great guy.
President Trump and Buddy Carter are working to help Georgians keep more of what they earn by passing the largest tax cut in history, eliminating taxes on tips and overtime, and making the child tax credit permanent.
Buddy Carter, warrior, great guy.
From day one, Buddy Carter has stood with President Trump on his mission to make life more affordable for working families. But while President Trump and Buddy Carter were protecting our wallets, Congressman Mike Collins was abusing them. Congressman Collins is under federal investigation for misusing taxpayer funds to benefit himself and his cronies. According to the investigation report, Congressman Mike Collins, quote, may have violated federal law by shelling out government funds to one of his top aides. Georgia families have had enough of wasteful, corrupt career politicians. We just can't trust or afford Mike Collins. Paid for by Buddy Carter for Senate.
I'm Buddy Carter, and I approve this message.
I would rather play with 10 people and just get penalized all the way until we got to do something else, rather than play with 11 when I know that right now that person is not sold out to be a part of this team. It is more about them than it is about the team. I cannot play with them, cannot win with them. Cannot coach with them. Can't do it.
He's your Godzilla of the truth in America.
It's Godzilla!
No gibberish or nonsense, just common sense. And now back to the John Fredericks Show.
Great to have you. I'm John Fredericks, your Godzilla of the truth in America, your oracle of the deplorables. Great to have you with us, as always. Hey, we got Todd Sheets coming up. First, though, the Safer Supervision Act, well, they are sponsoring this segment. Why? Because they and I believe in federal safer supervision legislation. This act now making its way through Congress. It is so important because with safer supervision, those that are out on parole that are being supervised, if they're doing all the right things, we want them to be able to reestablish themselves back into society, not having to go through all the things that supervised people have to do with, emergency meetings, go get a drug test on a dime, leave your job, can cost you that job, all that stuff. If you're drug and alcohol free and you're doing the right things, right, then we want to be sure that you're going to be in the best position to be able to assimilate back into productive society. And so the Safer Supervision Act, which is the natural progression from Trump 1.0's First Step Act, gives the ability for parole officers or supervisors to recommend to the judge that the person they're supervising no longer needs it because they're following all the rules, they're doing everything right. And that's what you want them to do. And then they just go to the judge and say, this is what I recommend. The judge then has to make the final decision. So two pairs of eyes look at it. And then if that person is doing the right things, they get to be released, which means the parole officer, the supervisor, which they're now called, has the ability to focus more of his time on those that are out under supervision that aren't necessarily doing the right things, that are struggling a little bit or could be doing nefarious things, and to give additional scrutiny to them rather than somebody that doesn't need it. This to me is common sense. I'm all about common sense. This is the Safer Supervision Act. To find out more, go to safersupervision.com. That's safersupervision.com and tell your congressman to get it done. This has been paid for by the Reform Action Fund. Joining me now is our good friend, Todd Sheets. Todd, thanks for being with us. I went on a big rant yesterday about people whining on our side about another $1.50 in gas, like the world was coming to an end. We were all going to die. And gas was $5 under Biden. Nobody said a word. The fake news blamed supply chains, Putin, the war in Ukraine, whatever, right? Nobody blamed Biden. All of a sudden, gas goes up $1.50. It's indeed transitory. And the meltdown on our side is incredible. I've never seen anything like it. I understand it's expensive. I understand it's coming out of your pocket. But this is tough. This is short term. This is a short term thing. And when the Iranian situation's resolved, Todd, I think gas prices are going to go down under where they were. Your thoughts?
Well, yeah, look, on the last point first, I couldn't agree more, especially if we get the kind of outcome that I think we're headed for here, which is maybe, let's call it the triple crown, which is that, we overturn, we win the war, first of all. We end up with control of the Strait of Hormuz. We have control of the uranium. And we have ourselves in a situation with respect to Iranian oil that is very similar to what we have with Venezuela's oil reserves right now. If we're in that scenario and all of that Iranian oil is flowing into the international markets, on the outside of the gray markets, the shadow markets, that kind of thing, but in the normal marketplace, along with what's happening in Venezuela, we could easily see oil prices down $50 a barrel or even lower. And in addition to that, somebody is going to have to be policing the Strait of Hormuz to make sure it remains a fair and open strait, and they need to be compensated for that. And the only person in the world or country in the world that can do that is us. And somebody is going to have to be sharing in the Iranian oil revenues in order to make sure that the peace and stability is maintained there. And, we could be talking 65 to $70 billion a year just for Iranian oil and energy, natural gas sales, not all of which is going to come to us, obviously, but some would come to us to compensate us for what we're doing. And then we make sure that the vast majority of the rest of it is going to the Iranian people instead of to the IRGC, which is funding Hezbollah and Hamas and that kind of thing. So the upside in all of this is so big from all these different perspectives. And yes, I completely agree, that we get all this stuff working and these energy markets working with the assurance of us being there to make sure that things are going to continue operating safely and soundly. And we are likely to see prices go down from where they are right now.
I don't think there's any question about it. Down further than they were before this whole thing started.
Yes.
I love your analogy here, your trifecta, especially coming off the Kentucky Derby. By the way, that trifecta paid $11,000 for a $2 bet, just so people know, with those two long shots in there. So I didn't bet that. I wish I had, $50 on it. I wouldn't be talking to you here today. But I love your trifecta, which is, just to recap, obviously you have to win the war, but your trifecta is control the Strait of Hormuz, control the uranium, and control the Iranian oil.
Yes. And I think all three of those things are possibly on the table here. And the good thing about that is we don't need to go in and directly physically and militarily cause the regime to collapse under that scenario. If we control the strait and we control the oil revenues, the regime will take care of itself. And so, hopefully, there's got to be somebody within the regime for us to be working with in order, like is happening in Venezuela. But, that's the way to avoid or at least minimize the kind of direct confrontation, that we got into in the other wars, Iraq, Afghanistan, that kind of thing that caused America to sour on these kinds of efforts.
Todd, I want to get to the Spirit Airlines debacle, that going out, 14,000 jobs gone. I think what really disturbs me the most about it is they were in financial trouble for a long time. This happens to companies. They had a vision. They just couldn't make it work. COVID started the downfall, etc. But JetBlue, which is another discount airline, which is financially stable because they've just done things better. It's just a better experience for the traveler. I've flown JetBlue. I've never flown Spirit, I think, but one time, and it was a horrible experience. But I've flown JetBlue. It's fine. But that's a discount airline. But the same people that stopped the merger, Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, others, are now complaining that Spirit collapsed because of Trump. How do you square that?
Well, this is Trump derangement syndrome, right? I mean, this is back to the people, just to go back a step and then we'll come to this. All of this negativity we hear about the war, the far left, the media who is echoing their talking points, they're our own worst enemy. We are our own worst enemy. It is almost as if they were taking the propaganda coming out of Iran and just echoing that to America and, almost acting as like the mouthpiece of Iran. And, I think we see that in this kind of thing also. You're right. Lena Khan, she was the bureaucrat that oversaw turning down that merger. And so, if we look at a couple of different points, first of all, I completely agree with you. That merger should have gone through. If it had gone through, we would have had a stronger and healthier company in the combined JetBlue and Spirit Airlines. We would have had a good management team overseeing their assets. That would have kept more competition in the airline industry, all of which is good. And it would not have necessitated a federal bailout in order for it to happen. And so, frankly, I was not in favor of the federal bailout. You could make a case for it that if it was purely the result of what happened in the war and the spike in oil prices, and this was an otherwise really well-run company under very, very healthy conditions, maybe you can make a case for it. But I don't think that's obviously not the case. I mean, Spirit had been in and out of problems for a while. That's why they were looking at selling themselves to JetBlue. That would have been the perfect solution. That's a free market solution to all of this. This is another company willing to risk the value of their stockholders' investment in the company, willing to take on the risk of the debt at Spirit under the belief that they could turn it around and make it a more valuable part of the airline segment. That's the way you want to deal with these kinds of things. And the regulators got in the way of it. And that's a disaster. I mean, that's exactly who all these job losses should be blamed on. Right?
And they were losing money when JetBlue tried to take them over. I mean, that's the thing that, like, these people don't run a business. You can only lose money for so long, and then you're done. I mean, you cannot continue to lose money because you can't get any loans, you can't make any improvements, you can't make any capital expenditures. Every quarter you're just hanging on for dear life. And Spirit was in a downward spiral. I mean, I applaud the original investors, the vision of what they had. I applaud it. They hung on there for a long time. But here, I'm going to play, here's Kevin O'Leary yesterday, because you and I both agree I was opposed to this bailout. I mean, you can't be bailing out companies because they failed in the free market. And that's what happened to Spirit. I'm not saying it was poorly run. It was a bad idea. It just failed. And there was a number of reasons for that. And JetBlue was successful. Southwest Airlines is successful. These are also discount airlines. They had a different structure, different management team, different vision, and they were able to survive some of the pitfalls within the economy. Let's get to cut 12 here, O'Leary.
We're going to stay on Spirit. Senator Elizabeth Warren criticized for a tweet she put out 2 years ago. She celebrated a blocked Spirit merger with JetBlue. She celebrated that. Here's what Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy had to say about it earlier on the program today.
Elizabeth Warren trying to say that it was a Republican appointed judge, a Ronald Reagan judge, that sealed the fate. No, it was a Biden DOJ that actually sued on the merger and put it in front of a judge. President Trump was focused on making sure that if the airline is going to go down, we're going to make sure that we're talking to the CEOs of other carriers, making sure they're going to step up and help with special fares for those Spirit customers, those Americans, to get them to their destinations, to which all the airlines have done.
Kevin O'Leary with me this morning. All right, Kevin, do you think the government should intervene to bail out private companies like Spirit?
Never. Capitalism works, America works, the economy's worked for 250 years because the winners win and the losers lose. The protein is never lost, Stuart. Think of Spirit Airlines as a dead fish. It's now drifting to the bottom of the ocean. The slugs will eat the protein and reprocess it into the environment, which is the economy. The reason Spirit failed, it was poorly managed. We don't want to back up weak managers. These are losers. And when they get to zero, which Spirit did, the good protein left in the business is taken over by the better managers, the airlines that are actually active. Those routes will be absorbed. Those employees will be employed, the good ones. And so you've got this constant recreation of success. And that's really what we have to stay on. Now, when you get the government involved in bailing out a loser, you don't just do airlines. Every guy and his dog with a loser company with weak management is going to put their hand up. And I'm in Washington, D.C. right now. There's a lot of ducks downstairs here squawking for government money. But they shouldn't get any of it. That's the whole point.
What do you say about Intel?
Let them go win it in the environment, the economy they're competing in.
What do you say about Intel? Trump put a lot of money into Intel.
I was so against that deal, and I'm on the record with you. Yeah. I hate that deal. Absolutely hate it. That thing should have been sold for car parts a long time ago. Now, maybe they're getting government contracts, which is even worse, to keep them afloat. And I know the stock's moved up, but that is not an excuse to do this again. Let losers die. It's like a grandmother on the bed. She wants you to pull out the tubes. She wants to go. And we just don't let it happen. Let them die. Let the losers die. It's a theme I think everybody should be harping on. Sing together on this one.
You're on dangerous ground with this one, so I'm going to move on.
Todd, I didn't like the grandmother analogy. I think he was winning until then. That was a little harsh, but pulling tubes out of granny, come on. But let losers die. I mean, we live in a free market capitalistic society. People put in money, they take risks. That's what business is. Like Anna and I did, we took an enormous amount of debt on, enormous amount of risks to build this network. And we have to management. It's got to have good stewardship. We got to have a vision that works. We got to get the revenue. We got to manage the expenses. All that thing has to get done. And if you don't do it, you're going to fail. And there's no bailout there. And I agree with him on Intel. I thought when you look at what President Trump did in the first 18 months, and I think he's been the greatest president maybe in history. Okay. Two things he did that I do not like. And one of them, what was this Intel? Whatever he did with that, like, I don't want the federal government owning companies.
Yeah, look, I agree with you. I mean, I do think there's an area in here that is not quite as clear cut, and that is because of what happened with letting China get control over so much of critical resource related things. The best solution to that is to get back to private market solutions without the federal government involved. But we may be in a period of time here where we need to do something to get the rare earth stuff going so that we're buying it here. We're not 100% dependent on China. There may be some technology areas where that's not a bad idea. But basically, I'm in the same place as you're in. Look, we don't want to intervene in the marketplace. When we do, we end up, let's take a specific example. We end up with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, okay? The two government-sponsored housing enterprises. They were supposed to solve a housing finance problem that was actually a result of the overregulation of the banking system that came out of the New Deal. And instead of pursuing a private market solution, they pursued a solution where the federal government had a vested interest in these two entities, and they had special privileges. And what happened over time was they went from insignificant players in the housing industry to become the 800-pound gorillas by the mid-1990s. And that's what enabled them when then they convinced the federal government that we should use our power to bring more people into housing, that the federal government should give them the regulatory authority to trigger the growth and expansion that kicked off the housing boom that ended up in the collapse. And so over very long periods of time, that's what happens when the federal government has some kind of vested interest in one company that it doesn't have in others. It makes it impossible for everybody else to compete with the one that is governmentally privileged. And, to some extent, we're seeing the same kind of thing in the banking system now with this too big to fail model. So if you have banks that are designated too big to fail, there's 8 or 10. If you're a lender, who are you going to lend your money to? One of the rest of the thousands of banks in the country who aren't too big to fail, and therefore you could lose your loan if there's not some kind of federal protection, or you lend it to the big guys who have federal protection because you're going to get paid off if something happens to those guys. Well, that forces even more concentration in these different sectors. So these are all the reasons why we want to stay away from the federal government being involved. You rid the system of the kind of competition that you talked about and that Kevin was talking about. It seems ruthless, and it is ruthless, but that's because it's very hard to compete to give the best products and services to people on an equal playing field.
So let me ask you this. I agree with that. And I think Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae are basically were the catalyst, the beginning of the financial downfall, the greatest book ever written on it by Todd Sheets right here on the 2008 crash. But how do you feel about the SBA loans? Now that's government-backed money going into small businesses where they'll guarantee the bank 90% of the funds if it's a default. I think it's 90% the last time I checked. The bank still has to give the loan, but they're only on the hook for 10%. So obviously the guarantee from the SBA makes it a little bit easier for startups to get money. How do you reconcile that? Because I'm a small businessman. I got small business loans when we started, so I'm in favor of that, obviously for obvious reasons.
Yeah, my feeling on these kinds of things is once we get used to a certain kind of system and people become dependent on it or reliant on it or they benefit from it, we think that that's the only way that things can possibly work, because within our sphere of experience and knowledge, it is the only way that we've seen. But we know that the system works without those kinds of things, because as we've talked about before, if we go back to the long limited government era, which lasted from about 1800 to 1930 with the Great Depression, 130 years, we had no Federal Reserve. We had a federal government that consistently spent in peacetime around 3 to 4% of GDP, as opposed to about 25% today. So it was about 10% of the size relative to the economy, and that it consistently ran budget surpluses or it broke even. So we had almost no federal involvement, and yet that was the period of time when we grew at an average of 4% over inflation throughout that period of time. No Federal Reserve monkeying around, no Fannie Mae, no Freddie Mac, no Small Business Association, no government involvement, but the capital markets, they will find opportunities if they're given the chance to find them without the government getting involved. And just like a venture capital community developed to fund Silicon Valley without the government, I think there's no question in my mind, there would be a marketplace for small business loans that would be much larger and much more privately driven.
I don't disagree with that, but I got to go to a break, so hang in there.
In 2008, the amount of concentrated time people could spend on a task without becoming distracted was 12 seconds. 5 years later, it was only 8 seconds, 1 second less than a goldfish. If you're often distracted or have trouble recalling information, you're likely to fall behind in the demanding, fast-paced 21st century. In other words, brain performance is more critical now than ever. Boost your brain power with Healthy Cells Focus Plus Recall. Science-backed nootropics to help you sharpen focus, concentrate longer, enhance recall, improve mental speed, learn rapidly, and be more alert. It's a pill-free brain supplement made with maximum absorption ingestible gel technology, designed to feed your brain at the cellular level. Take it for a test drive. Go to healthycell.com and use code GODZILLA for 20% off your first order of Focus Plus Recall. That's healthycell.com, code GODZILLA for 20% off.
Hey folks, Al Green here for SatPhone. When you're on the go, you want to know you're connected. If it's a family vacation or an off-the-grid escape to a remote destination, having reliable communication helps you feel safe and secure. You can't afford to find yourself in a dead zone. That's why you need SatPhone. SatPhones are reliable, durable, and give you global coverage. If you can get outside, you can get in touch. It's that simple. Make calls from your SatPhone to any regular cell phone in the United States. The phones are a $1,500 value, but you can get yours free. Just sign up for a 15-month plan, $94.95 a month. Get 150 minutes monthly that roll to the next month. Go 3 months without using them, that's fine. Yes, 3 months, 450 minutes, all yours. Visit SAT123.com or call 855-980-5830. SAT123.com, 855-980-5830. Get surety and security with your sat phone. Call now.
For the first time ever, we're bringing you My Pillow mattresses and mattress toppers for as low as $99.98. Remember, sleep's all about temperature and pressure points. Whatever sleep needs you have, we have the right technology for you. Like our My Pillow mattress topper, our queen size has over 10,000 individual comfort supports to help relieve your pressure points. And how about our 3-inch Hybrid Plus mattress topper? It's infused with copper and silver to help your body get the restorative sleep it needs. And our My Pillow and Case Coil mattresses, I personally helped develop these mattresses to make sure they have everything needed to give us great sleep. Plus, they're made right here in the USA, and they ship right to your front door, absolutely free.
Go to MyPillow.com or call 800-854-0504 and use promo code Godzilla to get MyPillow mattresses and toppers for as low as $99.98 and free shipping.
Ponder this. Imagine for a moment that you are lying on your deathbed. This is a great exercise to do each day in preparation for your very last day on Earth. Think about the tests you've ever taken, the job interviews you've had, and the many life celebrations you've been a part of. In all of these cases, preparation makes for successful outcomes. The same is true for dying. We must prepare every day for the day we are to die, in case today might be our last. Make sure you are right with the Lord first and foremost. If you are a Catholic, make sure you are in the state of grace by receiving the sacrament of confession often. Next, make sure you are right with your family, friends, and all those who are in your world. Apologize to those who have offended you and mend relationships that need healing. Make each day a preparation for your last day on earth, because it just may be. I'm Susie Kelly, and I am passionately Catholic.
Right now, download the new WV Sports Nation app from the Apple Store or Google Play and get the entire Mountaineer sports world in the palm of your hand. Right now, get notified when new stories drop about your favorite Mountaineers teams and athletes. Download the WV Sports Nation app right now. Get updates on next level Mountaineers like Weatherholt and Joe Mazzulla. All that and more right in your pocket right now. Download the new WV Sports Nation app from the Apple Store or Google Play. Download the app right now.
Don't touch that dial. You've found your home of the truth.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
With the best analysis in America.
You can't handle the truth.
And now back to the John Fredericks Show.
I am your Godzilla of the truth in America. You're on the John Fredericks Media Network. Thanks for being with us. We got a great show. Touch, he's coming up for another segment because we always have a spirited conversation, some of the best that we have. Plus, he loves taking your calls, 888-480-JOHN. 888-480-5646. Now, why do we want your calls? Well, we want to hear from you. We talk enough. We want to know what our community is saying. And this whole show, this whole network is about truth and clarity. That's what Ann and I have been able to build, truth and clarity. We're not clickbaiters. We're not conspiracy theorists. We don't do sensationalism. Truth and clarity at a premium right now in the United States. We're the voice of the people. And our mission is to inform and to hear from you and to tell you the truth and have spirited conversations. 888-480-JOHN, 888-480-5646. The truth, my friends, will set you free. One man with courage, as you know, makes a majority. Todd Sheets coming back after him. After Todd, we've got Congressman, Pennsylvania, Dan Muse is going to be with us. We got Chairman's Corner coming up, Josh McCoon. And then we got the Texas Truth Line all coming up right after Todd Sheets. And you calls 888-480-JOHN. And you can call in on any segment at any time. Any guest that comes on my show knows that if a caller comes in, you know, they got to take the calls. That's what the show's about. So don't be shy. You got a phone, it dials out. I got 3 phones, they all dial out. I got a phone and a pen. It's one thing Obama taught me. You can learn something from anybody. It's what Obama taught me. When they shut him down and Boehner won 60 seats and they took over the Senate, Obama said, well, you know, I can't do much in Congress, but I got a phone and a pen. I never forgot that he taught me that. I got 3 phones and 3 pens, so I'm in really good shape. This segment brought to you by the Vapor Technology Association. And look, many of us that were smokers like me, packing half a day, not good, right? Needed vape to get off it. And now I feel better. I'm healthier, right? Don't I look better? Smoking a packet half a day, overweight at my age, probably not a good prescription for longevity, as my doctor said. But I needed vape to get off it, and now they're trying to shut down vapes. Who? Well, Big Tobacco. The cancer stick manufacturers coming out of Richmond, R.J. Reynolds, a whole bunch of them. They got, $20,000 Rolex watches. They roll up to lobbyists with, $15,000 Italian suits on, Armani suits. They got the limos pulling them up. That's all they do. They're lobbyists trying to shut down vapes, especially flavored vapes. Got to be 21. So don't be telling me about it's bad for kids, because you got to be 21. Same thing to buy a beer, right? No difference. Got to be 21 years old. But they're trying to shut down the vapor industry. Got all these mom and pops out there that have vape shops. They want to get rid of them too in order to enhance the cancer stick lobby. Smoking's bad for you. I'm not saying vape's healthy, but it beats that. If that's the alternative, you're better off vaping. And vaping leads to quitting. Smoke, vape, quit. That's kind of the way it goes. So I'm in favor of protecting, coupled with the fact President Trump promised he'd protect the vaping industry. He got the vapor vote. It's like a huge vote. So you got to support vapors because it's a huge business in small town USA. They're all over Main Street. More information, go to Vapor Technology Association, the Vapor Technology Association. And this message has been paid for by the Vapor Technology Association. We thank them for their clarity. Let's see. Let's see. P.S. Dan says, can I read this, Dan, before we get back to Todd? Tracy called in because she was listening to Glenn Beck, who said that he's unearthed documentation from the LBG era indicting the CIA, finance, Silicon Valley. Okay. Whatever. Okay. Now we're going to go back to that, and we're going to find another clickbait conspiracy theory. I want to talk about Spirit Airlines, which just happened. Sorry, Dan. I can't go there. But if you go to alexjones.com, there is no more alexjones.com. Well, if you could go there, you'd find it, or you can go to Tucker Carlson is Us or Russia Today or whatever other nonsense is out there. Sorry, just don't trade in that. Sorry. Let's get back to Todd Sheets. Todd, thanks for hanging with us.
Glad to be here.
So I got a couple clips I'm going to play, but first, here's the beauty of the SBA loans, right? So they guarantee 90% of it, so it becomes a little bit easier to get a loan if you're a startup. So we got one loan, SBA. I don't even remember the property. I can't remember. It might have been in Richmond. I think it was in Richmond. So we got one. But after that, we didn't need them. So we just needed the one. Then we established our credit. Our bank then understood our business better. They did at the beginning, obviously. And then every other loan we just got straight from the bank, which was a better deal anyway. But sometimes you need that to get started because they do guarantee 90%. But I could tell you that the paperwork we went through to get the SBA guaranteed loan was 20x our regular bank. I mean, there's a lot of paperwork there. So I know they say there's a lot of SBA fraud. I don't really see how, because the bank that you're going to oversees all that. So, I think I'm a believer in that, but I want to get to something else here. Let's get to, we were back on Spirit Airlines. Dan, I think I sent you these clips and now I can't find them because you put there's so many things in here. I think, where are we, Dan? Just run the first one I put up for me and Todd.
From happening.
So according to the Spirit Airlines president and CEO, the sudden and sustained rise in fuel prices in recent weeks ultimately left us with no alternative but to pursue an orderly wind down of the company. So yes, they had a lot of problems, but the massive spike, almost doubling of fuel prices, is what got them to this point.
Well, that he did make that statement, but the merger should have been able to happen with JetBlue, and Elizabeth Warren and Biden's DOJ shut it down. Mm-hmm. And now we have 17,000 people out of work that wouldn't have been out of work had they let the merger go through. And I would argue that the two combined would have been much stronger and been able to handle this spike in prices. Because let's face it, energy prices, oil went to $120 under Biden. We had average gas prices around the country over $5. And airlines didn't go out of business then. So, look, we had those same spikes under Biden. We've had the spike here under Trump. I believe it's temporary. As soon as the Iranian war is concluded, I think those prices will massively.
That's a lot of shoulda, coulda, woulda. Yes. And I do think, look, I mean, we also have to know the Biden administration, they opposed the merger. They sued. But their suit was upheld in a court. It was upheld in a court by a Reagan-appointed judge. So that's also true. And look, I mean, at the end of the day, Spirit Airlines.
This is the amazing thing about these people. Okay, it doesn't matter. Like, history doesn't matter, facts don't matter, results don't matter, outcomes don't matter. The only thing that matters is Orange Man bad. I mean, how do people tune this nonsense in? They stopped the merger, which was the reason Spirit Airlines went out of business. It is as simple as that. I don't care what judge approved it. They're the ones that did it. I mean, sit there and say a Reagan judge approved it. The hell's that got to do with anything, Todd?
Well, I mean, you're right. I mean, you're throwing around the best argument that you can make for your position, but you're trying to stake out an argument that confirms, what your bias is going into the, before you get into the argument and that kind of thing. The bottom line here is if they hadn't filed a suit against the merger and it hadn't been contested by the DOJ and the government, it never would have been in front of the court. And then it would have been up to JetBlue and the shareholders of JetBlue to approve the transaction. So the only reason it got there in the first place is because the government filed the suit against it. I mean, after that point, you can say, well, the judge decided this way or that way. It doesn't mean the judge has any better idea about what the economic outcome. In fact, they probably have a significantly worse idea,
right?
Especially relative to the financial markets and the company run by successful executives, funded by private market shareholders who was making a decision about the continuation of the company at that time. That's where it all should have been decided. The private market looks at it. Everybody says this thing is dead. There's no value here. There's no ability to resuscitate it and turn it back into a profitable thing. Then you let it go and it goes away. But if somebody's willing to step up with their own money and with not only, the expertise of private market and economics, but the expertise of the airline industry. These were people in the airline industry, spent their whole life building a successful business, and they've looked at it and they're willing to underwrite it and take the risk. That's where the decision should have been, not in front of a federal judge, no matter who it was appointed by.
Boy, you nailed that, because if you look at that, and I know we're getting in the weeds here, but this is a big deal because there's 14,000 jobs that went away, an airline that went away, not good. But if you look at this, the way you're outlining it, and thank you for putting it in layman's terms, you had a CEO of JetBlue, you had a JetBlue directors of the board, a board of directors. These are airline executives, right? They know their business. Like I know the media business, right? I don't know anything about an airline, but I know the media business. I look at an acquisition. We've got one on the table now. We're going to go do our due diligence and all that. And, we know what we're doing. That's because we're successful. I don't know anything about the airline business. These people were senior airline executives that made the decision to put the resources and risk of their company's assets against a loan to buy Spirit because they thought it would make them stronger and better over the long haul. Well, that was their decision. And this idea that, we're going to block it so that we save competition. Well, now there is no competition because they went out of business. That's how stupid this was.
Yeah, that's absolutely how stupid this is. Let's just make a quick additional point here. this is a little bit like, to take it to a bigger picture kind of thing. Well, let's take 2 steps. Let's imagine first you have your investment portfolio, and you've got a manager who's running your portfolio. And what you care about is the compounded rate of return that they can deliver over time. You want somebody that can generate, it's your stocks, let's say, 7, 8, 9%, consistent with the S&P 500. Okay. So you don't want them saving companies just to save companies that are failing companies. And that is, the old saying would be throwing good money after bad, because if you do too much of that, instead of generating 8 or 9% on your stock portfolio, you're going to be generating 3 or 4% on your portfolio. You won't realize your objectives as an individual investor. Now, the economy of the country is just like that, blown up to a much bigger scale. So we have to generate the best return possible on the capital and investment base of the country as a whole. And the way you do that is you allow these decisions to be made by financial professionals or industry professionals, risking their own reputations and their own money, and not through political decisions. You get too many political decisions in there, and you end up with 3 or 4% growth instead of 8 or 9% growth. You end up with socialism instead of capitalism. And then you can't afford to do anything. You don't have upward mobility for the people that want to work hard, and you don't have any money to take care of the people who somehow, who can't participate in the system and that kind of thing. And that's why all of these things are so critical, that we get these things right.
Oh, you're 100% right, Todd. We're going to finish this segment because I was really upset of the collapse of the airline based on the fact that the Democrats wouldn't do this merger. And I hope this is a lesson learned, because look, I'm for blocking mergers that are truly going to violate our monopoly laws in the United States. That's why we have them. So yeah, if United Airlines said we're going to buy Delta and American and United and Continental, yeah, I would not be in favor of that, because then you got one airline, they can charge whatever they want. So obviously we're not going to do that. This was different, and it was stupid to oppose it. And we're going to finish here with Kevin O'Leary, the Real Cut 12, blasting this again. Just very incisive segment here. Go ahead, Dan.
New data shows New York City lost 12,000 residents between June of 24 and July of 25, across all income levels, that is. What was the biggest factor driving people out of blue cities like New York?
Stupid policy, bad policy, the highest tax city in America. Yet the services aren't any better, although I have to say the police are terrific. But you've got to ask yourself, look, if you keep doing this, if you keep raising the ratchet, even the middle class, when they approach retirement, say, why don't I move to Kentucky? Why don't I move to Tennessee? Why don't I go to Florida? What about Texas? What do I need to stay here for when in February it's miserable? Not just miserable taxes, miserable weather. So at the end of the day, New York's not competitive. That's my whole point. Now, Mondami has been using a lot of social media lately, and you've been tracking all of it, Stuart, that is hyping this rhetoric even higher. So if you're planning for your future and you're listening to that, you say, all right, enough, I'm out of here.
Yeah, you do. That's exactly what's happening.
Unbelievable. Todd, it's amazing. I've got a 21-year-old son who pitches from Maryland. He's out this season. He's hurt. Took a medical red shirt, sprained his lat, and he's going to be 22 in 5 days. And he said to me when he was 20, he said, by the time I get done with my baseball career, Dad, there's going to be 2 Americas. There's going to be red states where everybody's moved to get away from the blue states, which will be Republican in perpetuity, every state house, every state legislator, every governor, because that's where we're all going to move. And then there'll be blue states that where all the liberals stayed, and they're all bankrupt, and they're all going to fail. And then there's going to be truly 2 Americas, and then we're going to close the red state border so they can't get in. That's happening, right? 20 years old.
Yeah, great observation. Look, people are voting with their feet. This is like, it's a different version of, what I like to say is when you talk about, you go back to, we talked about the limited government era, and, did things really work when the government was that small? We didn't have a Federal Reserve, this, that. We can cite economic statistics all day long, or we can just follow what the people did. And so this is the same thing like, the factory abuse and exploiting people. So I'm sure there was some of that happening, but we know from the activity of the people themselves what they thought was a better opportunity for them, which is why so many people in the country moved from the farms to the cities so that they could start working in those factories, because in spite of whatever problems existed in those factories, those people individually thought that that would give them a better life, and it did. And the same thing is true of all the people here who immigrated from overseas, and they came decade after decade after decade. And so, once again, we're seeing people vote internally with their feet about what works and what doesn't work.
Let's get to a phone call to finish us out. John in Virginia, Southwest Virginia, you're with John and Todd. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, hey, good morning. Appreciate you taking my call. My concern is about the fickle electorate that we have. Too many people that are voting Republican, they seem to want to take out all their frustration on just the Republicans without realizing that the Democrats are involved there too. So they're frustrated with them, but they want to take it out on the Republicans so they don't vote, or they just sit on their hands. They complain. They got to have a long-term view. They need to look at places and get out and vote regardless. And you need to let your voice be heard to your state legislature as well as your national legislators in the House and the Senate for what you want done. Because if you don't, you look at Virginia, how they came in and everything is scorched earth. They get in under false pretenses, and they just start ramming things down your throat. And they're going to continue to do that. Republicans want to play a nice game. They just want to sit back and sit on their laurels and figure, well, no, it's not at my doorstep yet. Nothing's going to happen to me. And then pretty soon they're going to start losing their freedoms. All the things that they're guaranteed under the Constitution and the 10 Amendments. They need to start having a long-term philosophy, even though they can still have an eye on the short term. But they need to remember that it's going to get even more critical here in the future, because one of the things that they're going to face is, as I've said before, John, when I've called in, that there are Republicans in the House and Senate, in state houses and in the national level, that are Republicans that are really Democrats, but there are no Democrats that are really Republicans. And you're going to find out that they're going to be starting to infiltrate and start carrying off a lot of crazy programs that people don't really want.
Well, that's why we got to defeat them. That's why we got to defeat them. I mean, there's no, to me, is win lose. That's why I'm for all these states calling special sessions. I'm done playing around. And this is why I'm telling you guys, I'm telling you right now, DeSantis of Florida, and I called this 3 weeks ago, propelled himself now back in the national scene, back in the national spotlight. And when he goes to Iowa, you're going to see a different Ron DeSantis. I'm not endorsing him. I'm just making a political observation, because he had the balls to say, screw you, I'm getting 5 seats before the ruling came out. Todd, I'll give you the final word.
Yeah, I think, look, I agree with you and the caller. I mean, I think one of the things that happens is you get all excited about the new president, President Trump, because you think he's got your agenda lined up and is going to come out exactly the way you want it. And then some things happen that you don't like. And so you get frustrated. And if you're a Tucker Carlson, you go off the rails and that kind of thing and try and get other people frustrated. But we've got to keep in mind the big issue. And the biggest battle we are facing is internally, and it is whether we are going to continue to be the kind of country built on Western values that promote the preeminence of the individual over the state, property rights, capitalism, and those kinds of things, or are we going to let the far left push us down the path to becoming a socialist country of collectivism and government privileges? And everybody needs to keep in mind, that is the big battle at play right now.
Todd Sheets, truer words have never been said. One man with courage makes a majority, no doubt about that. Todd Sheets, thanks for being with us. You can follow Todd Sheets on Substack, Todd to these Sheets. Dan Muser, coming up, Congressman, Pennsylvania. Stay with us.
WJFN W224EB 92.7 FM Chester, W299DB 107.7 Bon Air, 100.5 FM Goochland, and WJFB Portsmouth AM 1650.
Amit Thomason. So far, 2 commercial ships have gotten through the Strait of Hormuz despite Iranian drone and missile launches trying to shut down President Trump's Project Freedom. No vessels were hit by the Iranian fire, although the U.S. military did sink 6 small Iranian boats. The president asked by the Salem Radio Network's Hugh Hewitt about red lines with Iran and what it will take to make a deal.
Do we have to get back the highly enriched uranium? Is that a red line for a deal?
Yes, we do.
Do they have to cap their missile production?
And by the way, from a standpoint of value, it's not very valuable. Probably can't be used. They may not be able to get it because, despite they love to say, oh, maybe these great pilots didn't do their job. In the dead of night at 1 o'clock in the morning with no moon, every single bomb went down those air shafts. It's the most incredible. Totally, I use the word obliterated, and the Atomic Energy Commission agreed with me.
We are now down to the 3rd tier of Iranian leadership, with the previous leaders taken out by the U.S. and Israel. In the nation's capital,
the Secret Service says a man was spotted carrying a gun near the White House complex Monday afternoon. Deputy Director Matthew Quinn.
Upon making contact, that individual fled briefly on foot, withdrew a firearm, and fired in the direction of our agents and officers. They returned fire and engaged. That individual was hit. He's since been transported to the hospital.
Quinn says one bystander was also hit
by the suspect. That individual is a juvenile, did not sustain any life-threatening injuries, but he's also receiving treatment at the hospital.
Ben Thomas, Washington.
A federal judge has apologized to Cole Allen, the judge voicing concern over the alleged would-be presidential assassin's treatment while in jail. On Wall Street, Dow futures up 155. More on these stories, townhall.com.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
Hi, my name's Neil. I have some advice for you if you've been trying to break free from credit card debt. You can start by doing what I did. Get your bills together and call Trinity Debt Management. Trinity is dedicated to helping people like me become debt-free. When I called, my first experience was a feeling of relief. My counselor was kind, and best of all, she didn't judge me. In just a few minutes, she helped me figure out a plan that consolidated all my bills into one lower monthly payment. This substantially reduced my high interest rates and put me on the road to success. In the end, I saved thousands in interest, and today my credit card debt is a thing of the past.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
My name is Neil. Take it from someone who's been there. Call Trinity and become debt-free for keeps.
1-800-990-6976.
Police in Germany are holding a suspect in a deadly vehicle attack that they believe was no accident.
Authorities say that a driver plowed into people in the center of the German city of Leipzig, leaving 2 people dead, 2 others seriously injured. The driver stopped the car himself and was in the vehicle at the time he was detained. Leipzig is one of the biggest cities in eastern Germany. The incident occurred on a street that leads to the city's shopping district. No word yet on a motive. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
A massive explosion at a Chinese fireworks factory has left at least 26 people dead, dozens more injured in the blast. Hundreds of rescue workers have been digging through the rubble of several buildings flattened by that powerful explosion. Armenia is hosting its first European Union summit, marking a deepening of ties. It's been years in the making. The summit underscores Armenia's growing disillusionment with Russian foreign policy. Townhall.com. More now on a judge's apology offered to an alleged would-be presidential assassin.
Cole Allen has been in federal custody since a prosecutor said he attempted to crash the White House Correspondents' Dinner and kill President Trump along with other high-level government officials. Magistrate Judge Zia Farouqui told the Department of Corrections attorney that he was, quote, fascinated and disturbed by Allen's treatment in jail. Allen was placed on suicide watch when he was first imprisoned. Prosecutor Jocelyn Ballantyne reasoned that since Allen told investigators he did not expect to survive the alleged attack, he could be a danger to himself. Bernie Bennett, Washington.
Television and movie actors have reached a tentative 4-year contract agreement with studios and streaming services. A deal still must be approved by the union's board of directors, and then it would have to be ratified by the rank-and-file membership. If it is approved, it would prevent a repeat of the 2023 actors' strike. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Hey parents, plan an unforgettable summer. Send your kids to Rapid Ann Baptist Camp in Rochelle, Virginia. 1 week of nonstop fun and life-changing truth. Amazing preachers, friendly counselors, exciting activities. Ride an alpine coaster and zip line, a 250-foot water slide, and that's just the beginning. Junior camps for ages 7 to 12, teen camps for 13 to 18, 2-day Pee-wee camp with mom and dad for ages 4 to 8, and a brand new day camp option. Sign up today at camprapidan.com. That's camprapidan.com. Rapid Ann Baptist Camp, where faith and fun collide.
Now more than ever, it's imperative to support companies that share our conservative values. That's why I can't be more excited to tell you that I've switched my family to Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. When you switch to Patriot Mobile, you shift your support away from the leftist, woke, progressive agendas of Big Mobile. Patriot Mobile's wireless service works perfectly and seamlessly as you go about your lives with exceptional nationwide coverage that uses the same towers the main carriers use. Patriot Mobile donates a portion of every dollar earned to causes you care about, to organizations that fight for religious freedom, First and Second Amendments, sanctity of life, and the needs of veterans and first responders. Patriot Mobile has plans to fit any budget, along with great discounts for our veterans and first responder heroes, as well as multi-line users. Switching is easy. Just go to patriotmobile.com/Godzilla or call their U.S.-based customer service team, 972-PATRIOT. That's 972-728-7468. Use offer code Godzilla for free activation.
Washington is wasting $500 million every year on a federal supervision system that doesn't work. Probation officers are overwhelmed. Resources are going to people who pose zero threat, while actual dangerous individuals slip through the cracks. The Safer Supervision Act stops the waste and refocuses every dollar on protecting families from harm. President Trump's own pollster found about 80% of Trump voters want this fixed. It's time for Congress to get this done. Stop the waste. Protect our communities. Visit safersupervision.com. Paid for by the Reform Action Fund.
Folks, John Fredericks here. A word from Red State Marketing. Business owners, your competitor down the street, well, they just showed up when a customer asked ChatGPT who to call. Did you? Search has changed. Google AI, overviews, and ChatGPT, they're answering buyer questions. And if your business isn't in those answers, you're invisible. Red State Marketing, well, they fix all that. American-built SEO for American businesses. Get your free order today at redstatemarketing.com/JFRS.
Buddy Carter, warrior, great guy.
President Trump and Buddy Carter are working to help Georgians keep more of what they earn by passing the largest tax cut in history, eliminating taxes on tips and overtime, and making the child tax credit permanent.
Buddy Carter, warrior, great guy.
From day one, Buddy Carter has stood with President Trump on his mission to make life more affordable for working families. But while President Trump and Buddy Carter were protecting our wallets, Congressman Mike Collins was abusing them. Congressman Collins is under federal investigation for misusing taxpayer funds to benefit himself and his cronies. According to the investigation report, Congressman Mike Collins, quote, may have violated federal law by shelling out government funds to one of his top aides. Georgia families have had enough of wasteful, corrupt career politicians. We just can't trust or afford Mike Collins. Paid for by Buddy Carter for Senate.
I'm Buddy Carter, and I approve this message.
Bad decisions limit future options. Make enough bad decisions and you will destroy your life. Listen to The Flatline with your host, Rick Hughes, every Sunday morning on the John Fredericks Radio Network. The Flatline describes a main line of resistance in your soul, built on God's Word. Join us every Sunday morning for 30 minutes of inspiration, motivation, and education, all without manipulation. That's The Flatline with Rick Hughes, heard here every Sunday at 8:30 a.m. on the John Fredericks Radio Network.
John Fredericks.
It is the most egregious thing I've seen in a lifetime.
President Trump.
The whole thing is ridiculous.
When politics start getting wild.
They want to have every single thing that you don't want. Raise taxes, men and women's sports. They're going to open up their border.
Trump hits the speed dial.
Thank you for calling in on such short notice.
You came first, John.
Wake up with the John Fredericks Show weekday morning, 6 Eastern, 5 Central on JFMN.TV, the massive J-Fred Radio Network, and all across the socials.
You came first, John. Thank you very much, and you do a great job.
He's the voice of Virginia.
No, you can't. You have one of the worst voices I've ever heard in my life.
And the commander of common sense.
Fire at will, Commander.
Now back to the John Fredericks Show.
Great to be back. I'm John Fredericks, and I am your Godzilla of the Truth in America, your Oracle of the Deplorables. Thanks for joining us today. As always, White House press briefing. I'll be there today at 3 o'clock, led by Secretary of State Marco Rubio. I guess he's standing in for Caroline Leavitt. Kind of interesting, him doing it. The place will be packed. There'll be a lot of questions on Iran, etc. Congressman, Pennsylvania Republican Dan Muser joining us momentarily. Great to have everybody with us today, as always. And hey, let me remind everybody that we have our big campaign election event, which is coming up on June 16th. It is in DC. It's for my campaign, Ward 2 chairman. So you want to go to that. It's going to be in Georgetown at the iconic City Tavern from 6 to 9 p.m. And we've got, there'll be a bar there, open bar, plenty of food. You're never going to an event of mine without having food and fun. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We got 3 great speakers. Congressman Morgan Griffith, one of our headliners. Thank you for coming to this, Congressman. Always appreciate it. Treasury, the head of the U.S. Treasury Department, Brandon Beach, will be there, the U.S. Treasurer, and Corey Lewandowski, our headline speaker, he's going to be there too. So it's going to be a lot of fun, great speakers, great food, great event, victory night. And all you got to do is go to makedcgreat.com, makedcgreat.com, and you can sign up there. Tickets, there are 3 levels, $200, $150. So if you can think that, Dan, that's a email that I sent you, and I just sent it so you can download that for a later time. MakeDCGreat.com, MakeDCGreat.com. Put June 16th down on your calendar, and you are good to go. And you can also do my QR code there. All fine. Let's get to the Congressman, Dan Muser. Congressman, great to have you back.
Great to be with you. Hope you can hear me fine.
Oh, you look fine, hear you fine. Everything is great. We got a lot to get into today, Dan. I know you've been very busy. I want to start with this DHS shutdown debacle. That went on for 78 days? Yeah. The Democrats didn't get anything out of this other than our people didn't get paid for months. They had to take loans out. All this stuff went on. We had to shift money around. What was the point of this?
Yeah, John, hey, first of all, your June 16th date, food and fun, boy, you sound like a Republican.
That's
because,
right.
Democrats, honestly, it's like the March of the Miserables.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's how they campaign. Like, not only is the sky falling, but they stretch the truth, and that's the nicest way I can say it. In fact, they invert the truth. The ads that are running up here right now against some of our members, like Rob Bresnahan and others, are not 99% false or 100% false. And as I tend to state, the networks that play them and the individuals that appear on them should be ashamed of themselves, because it's all fake and phony. Just like the DHS shutdown was fake and phony. Look, they pretend that they wanted to shut down ICE and Customs and Border Patrol because of the lack of professionalism and all the horrible things that they called immigration and customs enforcement agents, Nazis, Gestapo. The list went on. They very deliberately, John, and we know this. This is not conjecture. created a frenzy, particularly in Minneapolis. They incited people to go out and cause all kinds of disruptions, get in the face of ICE agents. We know they were being paid. There were larger organizations running this thing with all kinds of electronic connections taking place, apps for crying out loud, where to go, when to show up, what to say. So this thing was orchestrated, and very sadly, there were two bad shootings, and created by one woman who tried to run over an ICE agent. But whether or not she should have been shot, I'm not going to get into that because it was tragic. And then the other guy, they made him out to be like, this wonderful human being until you see him, foaming at the mouth at federal agents. And did he deserve to be shot? No. We certainly wish he wasn't. But when they're struggling with him and they find a gun on him, crazy things happen when you create crazy situations. So anyway, because of all that, they shut down immigration customs enforcement. They shut down DHS. And then they said, we'll fund, part of it after, of course, FEMA, CISA, after they put the United States homeland at risk, John, in jeopardy, serious risk. I mean, the CIA and National Security Council and the, National Intelligence Agency were on, higher alert because of this, right? Because of the possibility of us of being under attack. So finally, we get through it. We come up with what we could come up with. They still want to defund ICE and Customs and Border Patrol. And John, think about the main thing that they want here. They want to stop deportations. They spent 4 years, went through a lot of trouble to allow close to 15 million people, maybe more, into our country. At least 1 in 15, 1 in 20 of those are hardened criminals. So they let over 1 million hardened illegal aliens into our country. And we're trying to round some of them up, deport them, and they're doing everything they can to stop it. And why, John? There's really only one reason: because they'll help build the census for redistricting, and that they can get them to vote. That's what the plan was, and they're not gonna give back what they've done over the 4-year period. So that's what the big fight was over. We got it resolved. We passed this ridiculous one bill on funding most of DHS. But it's backed by, we filled the gap through reconciliation, which we're certain we'll get because of this budget resolution. Unbelievably complicated, parliamentary procedures, but it'll be all shored up because Republicans are trying to do the right thing and Democrats are trying to somehow win political points.
Dan, are you frustrated with the level of inaction going on in the U.S. Senate because of the Republican conference refusal to get rid of the man-made 60-vote cloture rule?
Absolutely, I am. I know the folks over there, the leaders of the Senate, John Thune, good man, everything else, doing this for the right reasons. But I'm not sure that they completely understand the gravity of the situation. The Democrats will, if they grabbed hold of the Senate, and it's highly unlikely in this midterm, they will so-called blow up the filibuster. They tried to do it before. If it wasn't for every Republican and Manchin and Sinema, who they ran out of town, by the way, right? They're no longer there because they're a little too rational for the Democrat leadership and the left-wing extremists that run the Democrat Party at this point, that set their agenda. Okay, that doesn't mean all the Democrats are lunatics, but it does mean that they're being led by lunatics, and they vote along with them. So yeah, we should. Now you do have, Thune will say, I don't have the votes. Well, Rand Paul doesn't want to do it, doesn't want to blow up the filibuster. Murkowski doesn't want to blow up the filibuster. Susan Collins doesn't want to blow up the filibuster, and you need them in order to do that. Now they will be on board with us with reconciliation, but sometimes you need the carrot, you need the stick. Sometimes a little bit more stick might help, because there's so much at stake. The president gets frustrated. Just the other day, again, blow up the filibuster already. I mean, we need to deliver for the American people. I would be there. The senators that are there, and they're frustrated with Thune's leadership, which happened on this DHS and everything else. And I consider John Thune a friend, but look, the American people, frankly, come ahead of friendship. So we need to. It would be nice, not just nice. It would be very, very important if we could do this. But if we do reconciliation, what we call reconciliation 2.0, it's going to be a very narrow bill. If we need to do reconciliation 3.0, and that includes a lot of things. It includes the funding going directly to people rather than to insurance companies that the president brought out in such a clear and common sense way. The SAVE Act could possibly be part of that. There's parliamentary procedures around that, but that could be part of that. Some of the defense supplemental could be part of that. Making Social Security as a permanent deduction could be part of that. So some really good things that our Democrat colleagues would never vote for, we could make part of that reconciliation. But blowing up the filibuster, let's do it. I think we'd hear cheers from every corner of the United States if we did that.
Well, especially from rank and file voters and the American people that want to see action, and we're not getting it. And I think you nailed it. This is what we've been saying for some time, and you've had the courage to say it as a member of Congress. The Democrats are going to blow this up in 15 minutes. They already tried to do it the last time. As you pointed out, they only got stopped because of Sinema and Manchin. They're both gone. Fetterman, your Pennsylvania U.S. Senator, voted for it. So he's a yes vote. So there's nobody to vote it down. If they got 51 seats, they're going to blow this thing up in 15 minutes. I don't understand the purpose of preserving a tradition that only benefits the Democrats.
I don't either. And think about what they do. People also got to understand. Oh, it's tradition. Oh, it's been in the not in the Constitution. It's been a practice, a parliamentary practice, shall I say? There's probably a better word for it, for a long time. I mean, 100 years or so. But what they will do with it, American U.S. senators and America, they will institute election reforms, the H.R. 1 initiative. We do the SAVE Act. They say, oh, my God, federal shouldn't get involved in state elections. That'll be their H.R. 1, which it was once before.
That's right.
They will make D.C. a state, which adds 2 liberal senators and a member, House member. They will stack the court, right? That's just a few of the things that they will do. They will, I don't know, is that checkmate once they do that sort of thing? Their goal of a one-party system to rule over us as opposed to govern over us?
Well, that's what's coming. That's why I can't see for the life of me what the holdup is with John Thune. Hey, before I get to the war, let's get to John Fetterman a minute. I know there's been overtures by Republicans reaching out to him that maybe there's a way to get him involved in the GOP. I mean, he's not going to survive a Democrat primary, Dan, in Pennsylvania. There's no way he can survive that. He will lose and not be the nominee, and they're going to nominate somebody like the guy in Maine is basically a revolutionary communist. It's incredible. Guys like the Che Guevara of modern times, and he's got a shot to win that seat, which is insane in and of itself. Any shot that Fetterman might say, well, I've only got one opportunity to stay in the Senate, and that's with our team.
Yeah. And I forgot about amnesty, America.
Right.
They have amnesty once they blow up the filibuster too.
Right.
The Fetterman question is an interesting one, right? The whole thing is interesting. For a little while there, I said just when he was voting with us on Israel and the borders, and I felt like saying, even a broken clock was right twice a day, because he was still voting against us over 90% of the time. And he still is. He admits he votes with Democrats 87, 88% of the time. But on the big stuff, the rational things, he's obviously a voice of reason. And it's, we appreciate it. If someone wants to, kind of get it and be rational and be part of the common sense party instead of the crazy party, we embrace it. Good. That makes sense. Now, he states that he won't switch because, he's been a lifelong Democrat, and he's a traditional Democrat that we, remember back in the days of yore. I never agreed with it then that we weren't the party of the blue collar, but that was the imagery in the 70s and the 80s. But my God, that party has long left him, so therefore, as many have said, they didn't leave the party left them. So I would say, if you would have asked me this a month ago or 2 months ago, I would have said, no, I don't think he's going to change parties and flip. But I think there's a real possibility that he's considering it, especially considering, you see the polls. I mean, because he's not lockstep with them and he's not part of the extreme left, he's down in the polls. I mean, they run him up against those who are looking to run against him, like the Conor Lambs of the world and all. He's like at 18% or 22% or something.
He's going to lose big. I mean, he has no chance of winning the Democrat primary. 0 in Pennsylvania.
Right.
The way that party is now. So, 0 times 0 is 0. That's my saying in the company to my salespeople. 0 times 0 is 0. He's got 0 chance. The only chance he's got in surviving is if he finds a way to caucus with us, and I'll take him. I mean, I'll take an R vote in the conference. I'm fine with that, right? Look, we all would have preferred to have Dr. Oz there. We all back Dr. Oz, but it is what it is. But I'll take the R over the crackpot Democrat that they put up.
That's for sure, John. You're a guy who looks at things in the numbers, and that's right. That's what it very much comes down to. And I see it that way too. It's just that, we're gonna have our Republican candidates, right, for U.S. Senate as well. So we'll see. I mean, will he commit to vote on the 88% of those issues? Where will he be? Will he caucus with us and vote with us? So I think he'd probably have a difficult Republican primary should he flip. But he's very popular.
He's kind of in no man's land. That's why he's got to flip prior to that. So maybe he can help us out.
I've been talking to him lately. He's a good guy. As you see, he and Senator Dave McCormick have a relationship there. One where they could a civil discussion relationship, which is very unlike the typical extreme liberal these days.
Right. No, I mean, look, I think it makes sense. Look, that's why I'm a Trump conservative. I'm MAGA. Everybody knows I back Trump in all the campaigns. I was the first guy in media. But I'm going to do a bus tour in Maine for Susan Collins because she votes with us 50% of the time, okay, or 55%. And all the big issues, Collins is there. The guy she's running against is a revolutionary Che Guevara communist. I mean, you got to be kidding me. So, I mean, are we better off with Susan Collins in the U.S. Senate for Maine than with this guy that's the de facto nominee who's crazy? I mean, come on, man. You got to be real here.
Hey, good for you. I hear that because I see when it comes down to it. I know people come election time and everything. Oh, look at all the things that they didn't do. But look at all the things that they did and what the alternative would be.
Yeah.
So I hear you. And I deal with Susan Collins sometimes, and she's a nice lady and everything. I sure would rather have a more conservative Republican in there. But you want to know what, though? She's the only, get this, when you talk about redistricting and everything, she's the only Republican in all of the New England states for the House and the Senate, the only Republican. So you telling me that, and meanwhile you have, you got 17 million people that make up New England and 42% are Republicans. And we have no House members from Connecticut to Rhode Island up through Maine, Massachusetts, and all. And we have one U.S. senator. I mean, they gerrymandered these maps. They've been doing it for years. That's been their practice. They just love the idea that we weren't responding.
I got about 3 minutes. Your take right now on the Iran war. What do you see happening here? Congressman, Pennsylvania Republican, District 9, Dan Muser. Dan?
Yeah, thanks, John. Well, serious issue. Look, the president got us into this only because he saw Iran was going nowhere. The same sort of lip service and BS that they've been giving presidents for 47 years. They're the center of terrorism in the world. They instigated the whole Hamas thing, their most recent proxy terrorist act. They convinced the Gazans, the Hamas, to attack Israel. They funded it, they managed it, they manipulated it, they ran it. They paid them to do it, all the well knowing Israel was going to respond in the way it did. So they set them up. That's how evil they are. You know why they did that, John? Just because there was some trade agreements being made through the Abraham Accords. So these guys are the center of violence in the Middle East, and they admitted that they were enriching uranium to make a nuclear bomb. Mm-hmm. So the president said, enough is enough. We're gonna end this regime. We're gonna put them in the rearview mirror. They're gonna be part of history, and that's what this is all about. So where we are now, this whole Strait of Hormuz thing. Look, we're the U.S. They're Iran. We got all the Gulf states with us. All the Gulf states with us. They hate Iran. They hate them more than we do because they deal with them. Iran's bombing the UAE. They're bombing people, different countries sporadically, just like lashing out, showing their desperation. So I think this thing is going to wind down, and we, in the next couple of weeks, and it's crucial that it does. It really is. I mean, the media is unbelievable. During Biden's era, we had gas over $5. I don't think NBC, CBS, ABC, CNN, 90% of the media ever said a word about the 20% inflation that existed during Biden. So we're dealing with this short term. It's got to be resolved. The president's a winner. His team are winners. America is a winner, and we're gonna stomp out this evil for the betterment of the world. And things will settle sooner rather than later. Of course, we all expect, but I think it's going to work out okay.
Dan, am I the only person in America that believes the Republicans are going to hold the House and win the midterms?
No, because I'm with you. And you and I, are real. We're practical. We're realists. We're not optimists. We're not pessimists. But we look at the board. We look at the seats President Trump won and Democrats won. Those are now, flip opportunities. We look at our candidates. Look at our candidates in Pennsylvania. Each one of them is incumbent and strong. Scott Perry, he's been there. He's strong as hell. Brian Fitzpatrick, he's got the area very well, effectively managed. Ryan McKenzie, great candidate in Allentown, works hard. Rob Bresnahan, who I'm with on a regular basis, he's outstanding too. So we got the money. They usually have more than us. We've got the funding to get our message out, to get the truth out. And John, all they got is lies. I mean, if people critically think this, why would they vote for a candidate or a party that all they do is try to win on lies? That's not us. We're going to tell them what we're doing, what else we're going to do, and what the results should be. And it's about strong national security, strong economy, common sense, parents' involvement in schools, boys stay out of girls' sports, and as limited government as possible in this day and age.
And Dan, all you have to do about your lie analogy is look at Abigail Spanberger in Virginia, right? Mm-hmm. Campaigned on affordability and moderate, and the most left-wing governor with the highest taxes raised in 90 days of anybody. And now her numbers have absolutely tanked in Virginia. Dan, people want to follow you. Where do they go?
Hey, just go on Facebook, Congressman Dan Muser. Our Facebook is Rep Muser, that sort of thing. You'll get me. We got our DC office. Come down and visit Pennsylvania. We love having visitors. We got an open White House, which we didn't have during the Biden days. My staff gives great Capitol tours. Just call our office. Our main office in the district is in Pottsville, home of the longest standing, oldest operating brewery in all of America, Yingling Beer.
Dan, I live in DC. I'm gonna have to come to your office. I try to get to the Capitol. I can never get there because there's something going on in the White House. I live 2 blocks away. That's where my office is. My office is 2.5 blocks away. I can never get to the Capitol because every day there's something going on there. You just can't get out.
Come over. Please come over. We'll have a good time. We'll take a walk around. We'll go talk to the speaker together. He always makes himself available. Well, not always, but as often as he can. I'm in 350 Cannon. Stop by.
I'm gonna call your director of comps. By the way, great hire. Yeah,
thanks.
Yeah, it's a good hire.
It's good to hear. I'm glad to hear it.
Comms people, I deal with them all, and he's a very good hire. He's a great guy. So I'm going to reach out to him, and thanks for being with us, Dan. We have to have you on a regular basis. Thank you for the insight.
Sounds good. John, thanks for everything you do.
All right, Dan, you want to follow him on his official page, muser.house.gov. Josh McCoon next.
Your lives with exceptional nationwide coverage that uses the same towers the main carriers use. Patriot Mobile donates a portion of every dollar earned to causes you care about, to organizations that fight for religious freedom, First and Second Amendments, sanctity of life, and the needs of veterans and first responders. Patriot Mobile has plans to fit any budget, along with great discounts for our veterans and first responder heroes, as well as multi-line users. Switching is easy. Just go to patriotmobile.com/Godzilla or call their U.S.-based customer service team, 972-PATRIOT. That's 972-728-7468. Use offer code Godzilla for free activation.
Washington is wasting $500 million every year on a federal supervision system that doesn't work. Probation officers are overwhelmed. Resources are going to people who pose zero threat, while actual dangerous individuals slip through the cracks. The Safer Supervision Act stops the waste and refocuses every dollar on protecting families from harm. President Trump's own pollster found about 80% of Trump voters want this fixed. It's time for Congress to get this done. Stop the waste. Protect our communities. Visit safersupervision.com. Paid for by the Reform Action Fund. Bad decisions limit future options. Make enough bad decisions and you will destroy your life. Listen to The Flatline with your host, Rick Hughes, every Sunday morning on the John Fredericks Radio Network. The Flatline describes a main line of resistance in your soul, built on God's Word. Join us every Sunday morning for 30 minutes of inspiration, motivation, and education, all without manipulation. That's The Flatline with Rick Hughes, heard here every Sunday at 8:30 a.m. on the John Fredericks Radio Network.
If you want to go after an athlete, one of my athletes, you go after one that doesn't do the right things. You don't downgrade him because he does everything right and may not play as well on Saturday, and you let us make that decision. That's why I don't read the newspaper, because it's garbage, and the editor that let it come out is garbage. Attacking an amateur athlete for doing everything right. And then you want to write articles about guys that don't do things right and downgrade them, the ones that do make plays. Are you kidding me? Where are we at in society today? Come after me. I'm a man. I'm 40.
He's your Godzilla of the truth in America.
Run! It's Godzilla!
No gibberish or nonsense, just common sense. And now back to the John Fredericks Show.
No, you got him. I am your Godzilla of the truth in America, your Oracle of the deplorables. Coming live in Washington, D.C. Great to have you with us, as always. Josh McCoon coming up. This is our Chairman's Corner segment. That's right, Chairman's Corner. Next up, Josh McCoon, Chairman, Georgia, Republican Party, one of the most important states for us to win. We got Senate, we got House, we got everything going on there. We got a bunch of lieutenant governors running for everything. No, every senator is running for lieutenant governor. Got to be some upheaval there. Redistricting, Brian Kemp says, no, sorry. Going to be talking about that, all with Chairman of the Georgia GOP, one of the leaders in the party, Josh McCoon, coming up. This segment, though, brought to you by Healthy Cell. Why? Because you got to get a good night's sleep. Look, lace them up and lace them tight. This is May 5th. We don't have that long. 6 months, that's it. Elections, midterms, everything is on the line. Democrats win, communists take over, impeach Trump, indict everybody, drag him in for hearings, be a 2-year TV show going nowhere. You want that, or do you want real progress and a better life? That's why you got to get a good night's sleep. You've got to be healthy. Don't be out there getting sick. Don't be getting tired. That's why I, every day, and everybody in my family takes their REM sleep from Healthy Cell. This little packet that you're seeing right here, thing is dynamite. It's all natural. No artificial ingredients, no drugs, all natural. tear it off, down it 15 minutes before you go to bed. Here's what happens. You fall asleep. That's good. You go into a deep sleep. That's good. It supports all 4 levels of sleep. You get the REM sleep, which means you dream on the 4th level, which means your body rejuvenates, which means when you get up and that clock rings and you jump out of bed, you're ready to go. I jump out of bed every day. I can't wait to get up and talk to you all at 6 in the morning because I get my REM sleep, right? Don't always get 7 hours. A lot of times I get 5.5 or 6. That 6 hours I get, it better be good. Otherwise, you can't function. You're not at the top of your game. Also, you need a multivitamin. They got that there too. I take that every day. They're multivitamin in a gel pack, not some capsule that you pee out. It's the best thing out there. You want to stay healthy. You want to get energy. You want to look good. You want to get a good night's sleep. You got one place to go. Healthy Cell. Go to healthycell.com/Godzilla. Healthycell.com/Godzilla. Promo code Godzilla. Guess what you get? 20% off. 20%. Try it. You're going to love it. You're going to get a subscription. You're going to keep ordering it because it's going to help quality of life. That's what I'm all about now, quality of life. And in order to get quality of life, you need great state chairmen of Republican parties like Josh McCoon, who's with us now. Josh, great to have you with us.
Much for having me, John.
Okay, you're at the center. You're the eye of the storm, eye of the tiger, however you want to put that. You got a lot going on. Let's start with redistricting. Kay Ivey did it in Alabama. Jeff Landry did it in Louisiana. Governor Bill did it in Tennessee. Yay. Also, Ron DeSantis did it in Florida. Looks like Tate Reeves is doing it in Mississippi. A couple of them had to put off elections. Brian Kemp says no, he'll wait till 28 when he's not there. What's your reaction to that?
Well, obviously, John, we called on all of our elected officials to move to a special session immediately upon the decision coming down from the Supreme Court. Certainly wish the decision had come earlier this year. But it is, as you said at the top here, control of the U.S. House is everything. We'll be crippled for the next 2 years if the Democrats are doing impeachments and investigations. We can't afford that. And I want to say this isn't just about the Republican Party and who's up and who's down. It's not even just about President Trump. It's about the success of our country. We're in this conflict in Iran. We've got a lot of things going on right now. We can't afford to stand still as a nation. And so obviously we are continuing to hope, and we're continuing to call on our elected officials to go ahead, have a special session, take whatever action needs to be taken to postpone the primary if necessary. I know in 2020, when we had COVID going on, early voting had commenced. Those votes were kept. They were segregated. They were counted. They were made part of the primary election that year. So there is a model to move forward on. And of course, that's the position of the Georgia Republican Party, because here in Georgia, we're 9 Republicans and 5 Democrats right now. I think conservatively, with a map that doesn't have to deal with these racial quotas, we could go to 11 Republicans, maybe 12. That's 2 or 3 additional Republicans. That could be the difference between control of the House or Speaker Hakeem Jeffries.
So, Josh, what you laid out, this is why I love having you on. This is why I think you're one of the leading chairmen in the United States. And certainly when the time comes, my candidate to lead the state party, no question about it. But look at what you just said, right? You've got 2 to 3 seats to gain. You've already had a precedent of counting the early votes when you moved the election during COVID. So that precedent's already been there. So all Governor Kemp has to do is call a special session. The legislature wants it. He calls it. They can postpone the election just the way Governor Landry did in Louisiana and get these seats right, get in line with the Constitution now, not wait till 28. But Brian Kemp has refused to do it again. This is the second time he's refused to do this when we've had an opportunity to look at the facts. And I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to relitigate 2020 and all that. But this is clear. And other Southern governors are doing it, except Brian.
Yeah. So again, we're certainly going to continue to advocate for this. We believe that it's the right thing to do. At this point, the argument we would make is that our maps, which were written to comply with the sections of the Voting Rights Act that have been changed by this decision, are now out of compliance.
Right.
And so, I'm a lawyer. From a legal standpoint, I think we need to move our maps to being ones that are in compliance, and maps that always should have been drawn the way the maps are drawn in the rest of the country, not under the Voting Rights Act, about putting communities of interest together. And frankly, when that happens, yes, it benefits Republicans, and I'm not going to apologize for that. We control the state House, state Senate, constitutional officers. We ought to take this opportunity to get the map right. And again, hopefully that preserves our majority in Washington and allows this president to do the critical work that needs to be done for the American people.
This is Chairman's Corner on the John Fredericks Media Network, where every week we have on a chairman of the Republican Party across the country. Today, our guest, Josh McCoon, Georgia. Perfect timing with the redistricting battle coming up. And Josh, we appreciate you making the time for us today. A critical issue. Have you talked to the governor about this directly?
We haven't had the opportunity to have a one-on-one conversation. Obviously, we're going to continue to do what we can to advocate with the governor and his team because, again, we believe this is important. We think it is something that needs to happen. If we have this election, if the primary election gets pushed off by 30 days, that's still plenty of time to move forward. And again, it's not disenfranchising anybody. We have the model from 2020 to simply take those votes that have been cast, set them to the side, and then they'll be available to be counted once we hit the newly set election date. So we're gonna continue to do all we can here to advocate. Obviously, we only have 12 days until what is currently set to be election day for the primary.
So when will the governor have to act on this?
I think it would need to happen this week for the legislature to come in the week of the 11th and to make these necessary changes.
And have you gauged the support for this amongst the leaders in the state Senate and the House in Georgia?
I think that, a lot of the elected officials have an appetite for this. They understand what you and I have been discussing this morning, what the consequences are in the broader national picture. And again, the legal issues, right? There's a valid legal issue right now. There's some standing questions, but you could wind up having these maps litigated under the new court decision. So you can remove all that uncertainty by simply going ahead and getting new maps passed that follow this new Supreme Court precedent.
I mean, why not comply with the law? This is what I don't understand. I mean, there's a lot of things that Governor Kemp has done that I'm really in favor of. I believe in his stewardship of the state. He's done a really good job. But the other thing this does is, I know he's talked about the potential of running for president. If he doesn't do this special session, I mean, you might as well forget that. There's going to be no appetite for him anywhere in Iowa or New Hampshire. So even amongst that, I don't get why he's waiting. I just can't figure it out, because on so many things, Governor Kemp has been extremely bold. The Heartbeat Act, so many things, and yet on this redistricting, he is just as reticent to do it again.
Yeah, and I will just echo that. Governor Kemp has compiled an extraordinary record over the last 7.5 years. On taxes, reducing the state income tax, on the heartbeat bill. To me, the number one thing was how he reacted to COVID. People talk a lot about DeSantis in Florida. Georgia was actually the first state in the nation to reopen. So he has demonstrated time and again common sense, conservative positions. When you get lawyers involved in these conversations, you have 3 lawyers, you'll get 3 different opinions. I think that's part of what's going on here. And so we're just going to continue to advocate with the governor. Hopefully we can get that decision made and be able to, put this in play, get maps that comply with the court decision, and get us to that 11 or 12 number where we really ought to be as a state.
I think so. And hopefully he'll do that. Hopefully the pressure that you'll put on him, the White House, others, Speaker Johnson. I mean, I'm sure that everybody is calling him up, trying to get this done. And I understand that he can, sometimes be a little bit stubborn, but this is no time to be stubborn, because the future of the country is hanging in the balance. So just get it done and then let the chips fall where they may. Josh, let's get to the governor's primary. I hope it's put off. Burt Jones in there when in a few months ago, you guys were able to get your resolution passed. It's called Rule something.
Rule 11. Mm-hmm.
Rule 11 to get the party to work on the behalf of a single candidate of their choice in the primary. And your preferred candidate was Burt Jones. In order to do that, you needed the chairman, Josh McCoon, who I'm with now, and both of the state committee people. So to get a 3-0 vote, and you got that. What are you doing? What is the party? What changed there? And how are you guys helping Burt Jones?
Well, really, as you know, John, the reason it takes the three of us is that's a rule of the Republican National Committee on whether or not the Republican National Committee can coordinate with the campaign pre-primary. And as you know, President Trump has endorsed the lieutenant governor in this race. As I said when I was asked about this back in February, I was certainly not going to stand in the way of President Trump's choice being able to have the support of the Republican National Committee if that was the will of Chairman Gruters and the leadership there. I don't really have any information on what coordination may have taken place over the last 90 days or so. I will say it's an extremely close race. Remington's out with a poll today showing 1 point separating Rick Jackson and the lieutenant governor, with the other candidates a little bit behind the two of them. A lot less undecided in that poll, by the way, down to about 14%. So it does look, at least right now, very much like a two-man race. Obviously, we've got 2 weeks here, maybe longer, depending on how this redistricting conversation plays out, but very competitive primary, almost certain to go to a runoff.
A few weeks ago, Ricky Jackson had a big lead. He had carpet bombed Republicans with ads, mailers, social media, just absolute, what I could call shock and awe. And he built a substantial lead over Burt Jones, whose hands were tied, obviously, from campaigning with a special session going on. But now he's fighting back. And I think you see this poll that just came out, he's gained ground. What do you attribute to that?
Well, I think I said this when Clay Fuller won decisively in Georgia's 14th district to succeed Marjorie Taylor Greene. You cannot underestimate the value of President Trump's endorsement and President Trump's leadership among base Republican primary voters. John, here in Georgia, it's a smaller pool of people that turn out and vote in these May and June primary elections. And they're very interested in where the president is on these races. That doesn't mean that the race is over when he makes a decision. But I think as more voters have tuned into this race and figured out where the president is, you've seen the voting intention change with that as they've become educated about who the president is supporting in this race. Obviously, Mr. Jackson, as you noted, has spent an enormous amount of money. I think it's approaching $100 million on this race. And so for casual voters that aren't paying as much attention, if you get those mailers that you see where he's with Trump, you could get the impression that he's been endorsed by Trump, and that's the campaign that they're running. So we'll have to see, but it definitely has gone from Mr. Jackson with a clear lead to a very contested battle for first place. And again, what I think will wind up being a runoff.
Well, I think we're going to get to a runoff. Hopefully that's going to be later rather than sooner. And I know there was some complaints about the positioning of the runoff. Is that a party bylaw? Like, is there a set time between primary and runoff? Who is that up to?
So that's actually state law. State law mandates a 4-week window between the primary and the runoff. Georgia is a state where you have to get over 50% of the vote in order to win the election. And because of the Voting Rights Act, again, when I was in the legislature, we had to actually have a 9-week runoff. And we made some changes to our laws that allowed us to tinker with that a few years ago. So it's a 30-day window now as opposed to 9 weeks. If we still had that 9-week runoff, a delay in the primary would be very problematic. But now you're talking about a 30-day election after the primary is over.
And is that a hard month, like a hard 30 days?
Well, yes. Now, we talk about, you and I are talking about a special session. Obviously, in a special session, you could make changes in Title 21. You could change that. You could make it a 2-week. Arkansas has a 2-week runoff period. So you could adjust that if you wanted to.
Right. So they in the special session they could adjust that. Give us a percent. I hate to do this to you, but I have to. Give us a percent chance of this week, because it's Tuesday, of Governor Kemp calling for a special session, 10 being definitely, 1 being nada.
I mean, I think it's definitely less than 5 because the governor has publicly said, as you noted at the beginning of this conversation, that he's not intending to call one. I do think that as national leaders weigh in, there's still a possibility of having that conversation. And again, I think talking about the legal piece of this, about what risk is there. There's legal risk that I think the governor is looking at in terms of calling a special session and making a change. I happen to believe that risk is less than the risk of leaving the current maps in place. And I think as that conversation goes on, hopefully we can be persuasive enough to get there. But right now, I'd say less than 5, more than 1.
I'll take that, because the other day it seemed 0. But let me just throw this out. What would it be like to be Governor Brian Kemp sitting in, I guess he'd be sitting in the mansion with Marty. He's been a really good governor. And you're sitting there on November, whatever the date is, 8th, 7th, 6th. You're sitting there that night, and Hakeem Jeffries gains the speakership by 2 votes. How would you feel sitting there if you're Brian Kemp? And what would that do to his future? I don't think it would be good. Do you?
Well, look, I hope that we're not going to be facing that situation. We're going to focus real hard on seeing these changes get made. And of course, I know my colleagues are working all over the country. You and I were in person back in January in Santa Barbara. State chairs everywhere are working really, really hard to map our opportunities. Thanks to what other southern states you mentioned, I do think we're going to have a net gain when this sort of redistricting battle among the states is over with. And hopefully between that and the president getting out in the country and selling the wins of the last 2 years, we're going to have a majority after November. So that is the scenario I'm going to work for every day between now and then.
Good answer, but in your heart, you know I'm right. I think I mean, that's the only answer you could give, but you know I'm right. He doesn't want to be sitting there. And I'm telling you, man, I mean, he's still got a future, because like you said, you got to remember, he opened up his state before anybody in the country, right? I remember people calling me in from, what was it, Tybee Island, the beach there. They're all going to the beach saying, we love our governor. And it was the only beach open in the country. So, I mean, come on, man. He's been a good governor.
And just to say one more thing about COVID, just to give you an idea of how important this was to him, within days of the 2 weeks to stop the spread, they reached out to me. I wasn't chairman of the party. I didn't have any kind of portfolio. They knew I was a Catholic who took my faith seriously. And they said, what do we need to do to make sure that Catholic masses can continue to be celebrated in Georgia? And I mean, this is days into what was happening. So you're absolutely right. He has a wonderful story to tell, a tremendous legacy that he is leaving behind, and something that I think could allow him to go into a lot of different directions. So hopefully he will be able to put one more feather in his cap by assisting us with this important work of getting the map right and getting fair representation in Congress.
Why tarnish your legacy when he has an opportunity to bolster it and to enhance it and do the right thing legally, do the right thing for the Constitution, do the right thing for the people of Georgia, and do the right thing for the United States, do the right thing for the country? I think it's all there right in front of him. Josh McCoon, Chairman, Republican Party, Georgia. And by the way, you're doing a super job. Boy, the Senate race on the Republican side, that's getting interesting. Derek Dooley making a little bit of a run, but Buddy Carter, he just hangs in there, right? He's 20%. Collins is 35%. It's like a rock. Doesn't go up, it doesn't go down. Every poll is 35%. It's pretty good, but it doesn't grow.
I've had the chance to see all 3 of these candidates out there. All of them, every one of them, would be better than the incredibly unqualified Jon Ossoff.
I agree with that. I think anyone would be better, and I think anyone can win. I think it's going to be very interesting. But if I had to predict the winner now, I think Buddy Carter gets in the runoff, and I think he's a nominee. There's something about Carter that's catching fire. I mean, it's hard to put your finger on it. You know, it's kind of like when he used to race horses. He just comes up the rail, and all of a sudden he's like right there. I think it's going to be an interesting race. We'll see what happens. Josh, thanks for being with us. People want to follow Josh McKoon. Well, all they got to do is go Josh McKoon MC, capital KOON, and you're going to find him there, chairman of the Georgia GOP, doing a super job. And our featured guest today on Chairman's Corner. Josh, thanks for being with us. Great insight.
Thanks for having me, John.
The Texas Truth Line is next.
WJFN, Goochland, Bon Air, Chester, 100.5, 107.7, 92.7 FM, AM 820, and WJFB, Portsmouth, AM 1650.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. American boats passed safely through the Strait of Hormuz despite ongoing Iranian challenges to freedom of navigation.
Iran has effectively closed the critical waterway since the U.S. and Israel launched the war in late February. President Donald Trump's new initiative to break Iran's stronghold over the strait has escalated the standoff. In a news conference, Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ismail Baghei said ships in the key waterway need to coordinate with Iranian authorities to ensure their security and safety. The U.S. military denied Iran's claims that it had struck an American Navy vessel. I'm Karen Shamas.
And President Trump is weighing in on the current state of Iran's leadership.
A lot of people aren't really looking for that job. They have, we knocked out their first team, we knocked out their second team, we knocked out half of their third team. A lot of people aren't looking for that job, but I find them to be far superior than the first group. Okay, the first group was totally out of control and was doing the wrong thing for their country.
The president making an appearance on the Hugh Hewitt Show on the Salem Radio Network. Primaries today in several states, including Indiana.
In neighboring Ohio, primaries for U.S. Senate and governor will lock in candidates for two major races with national implications. And in Michigan, voters in a bellwether district will fill a vacancy in the state Senate, a race with implications for the balance of power in a battleground state. Democrats are showing surprising strength in special elections and off-year contests, but there's no guarantee the trend will continue through the midterms when turnout will be much higher. I'm Haya Panjwani.
Looks like Wall Street will be opening higher this morning. The Dow futures are up 171 points. NASDAQ futures ahead almost 200 points, and the S&P futures are up 31. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Health insurance rates are surging in America, leaving millions without affordable options. If you're sick of having paychecks eaten up by healthcare costs or dealing with mega corporations, then listen to this. Christians don't need to waste money on a broken system. That's why I want to tell you about Christian Healthcare Ministries. It's an alternative to traditional health insurance at half the cost. With CHM, fellow believers contribute monthly to help pay each other's medical bills. There's no enrollment period, so you can join anytime. And you aren't restricted to provider networks, so you choose the doctors and hospitals you want. It's that simple. CHM is not insurance. It's a ministry that puts faith into action. Feel the difference of financial support and biblical care from fellow believers. Join CHM today by visiting chministries.org/wellness. That's chministries.org/wellness.
Authorities in China say an explosion at a fireworks factory in a central Chinese province has killed at least 26 people, 61 others injured. China's official Xinhua news agency reports the blast occurred at a fireworks plant in Hunan province. Hundreds of rescuers have been deployed to the scene. Residents in danger zones have been evacuated. Authorities are investigating the cause of the blast, and police have detained the person in charge of the company. Local media reports that all fireworks manufacturers in the region have been ordered to halt production immediately. A driver plowed into people in a busy shopping area in the German city of Leipzig. 2 people were killed. The mayor says 3 others seriously injured yesterday afternoon in what officials believe was a deliberate act. An unspecified number of people sustained less serious injuries. The driver, a 33-year-old German citizen, was detained in the vehicle. News and analysis, townhall.com. A Yankee star is advocating for the iconic voice of a late announcer to become a permanent fixture.
Aaron Judge hopes John Sterling's iconic call, "Ball game over, Yankees win, the Yankees win," becomes a new tradition at Yankee Stadium. Judge shared this after the Yankees defeated Baltimore 12-1, completing a 4-game sweep on the day of Sterling's death at age 87. Sterling, who called games from 1989 to 2024, was honored with a pregame tribute. Then his familiar call that punctuated Yankees wins was played over the ballpark's public address system following the final out. Yankees manager Aaron Boone also supports the idea of Sterling's call becoming part of the victory routine. I'm Gethin Coolball.
Vice President Vance visits Iowa today, first visit since taking office in the state where less than 2 years from now Republicans will cast the first votes to pick their party's presidential nominee. More on these stories, townhall.com.
In a time when everything feels political, one place must rise above it all. The courtroom, where the law rules and integrity matters. In 2020, Georgians came together, electing a justice who believes in protecting our courts.
I'm Georgia Supreme Court Justice Sarah Warren, and here's what I believe. I believe in the rule of law, the separation of powers, and a judge's limited role to interpret the law as written. I believe in a nonpartisan judiciary, impartial judges who don't advocate for political positions or outcomes. I believe in deciding cases without bias or favor, treating everyone with dignity and respect. As a justice on your Supreme Court, I've upheld these values. With your support, we'll maintain the integrity of our courts.
Vote to re-elect Justice Sarah Warren. Vote early starting April 27th or on Election Day, May 19th. Paid for by Georgians for Justice Warren, Inc.
Washington is wasting $500 million every year on a federal supervision system that doesn't work. Probation officers are overwhelmed. Resources are going to people who pose zero threat, while actual dangerous individuals slip through the cracks. The Safer Supervision Act stops the waste and refocuses every dollar on protecting families from harm. President Trump's own pollster found about 80% of Trump voters want this fixed. It's time for Congress to get this done. Stop the waste. Protect our communities. Visit safersupervision.com. Paid for by the Reform Action Fund.
How much did you win at Rosie's Gaming Emporium?
Hi, I'm Jerry from Richmond. I won a $23,000 jackpot at Rosie's.
I'm Tammy. I'm from Newport News, and I just won a $5,400 jackpot from Rosie's.
Hi, my name is Kim, and I'm from West Virginia, and I won $99,000 jackpot at Rosie's.
Are you ready? Learn more about Rosie's rewards and jackpots at rosiesgaming.com. Must be 18 or older. Problem gambling? Call 1-888-532-3500.
The Cats and Cosby Show.
It's the top news of the day.
This show knows things before anybody else is transmitting it. I said 5 minutes after we make a deal, the price of crude oil is going to go down $20 a barrel. Well, it went down $20 a barrel today. It did. 15 days from now, and if it looks like we have a good deal, it'll go down another $25 a barrel.
Cats and Cosby, 5 Eastern, 4 Central on the John Fredericks Media Network.
And that's a good sign for us, obviously, and for the free world.
1775 Coffee is giving away free starter kits. Try the dark or medium roast coffee with longevity blend, an infused blend with anti-aging calcium alpha-ketoglutarate, which has been clinically proven to reduce biological age. When you purchase the first 2 bags, you'll receive a free 1775 starter kit, including a third 16-ounce bag of coffee, a matte black tumbler, a frother, a gold scoop, or a reusable K-cup filter. Just order now at 1775coffee.com/Godzilla and claim your free 1775 starter kit while supplies last.
It's finally here, our second annual mega sale. This sale only comes around once a year, so take advantage of the best offers ever while you can. For example, save 50% on our Giza Dream bed sheets, as low as $29.98. And for the first time ever on TV, MyPillow mattresses and MyPillow mattress toppers as low as $99.98. And you save 50% on our Lux Pure 6-piece towel sets. Regular $69.98. Now only $39.98. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, regular $49.98, on sale for $17.98. Wait on it, mega sale only $14.98. But wait, there's more. To make the mega sale even more special, when you order right now, your order's going to ship absolutely free.
To take advantage of the second annual mega sale, go to mypillow.com or call 800-854-0504 and use promo code Godzilla.
John Fredericks.
It is the most egregious thing I've seen in a lifetime.
President Trump.
The whole thing is ridiculous.
When politics start getting wild,
They want to have every single thing that you don't want. Raise taxes, men and women's sports. They're going to open up their border.
Trump hits the speed dial.
Thank you for calling in on such short notice.
You came first, John.
Wake up with the John Fredericks Show weekday morning, 6 Eastern, 5 Central on JFMN.TV, the massive J-Fred radio network, and all across the socials.
You came first, John. Thank you very much, and you do a great job.
Don't touch that dial. You found your home of the truth.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
With the best analysis in America.
You can't handle the truth.
And now back to the John Fredericks Show.
Hi, you're on the John Fredericks Media Network and all the John Fredericks radio apps, and I am your Godzilla of the truth in America. Well, it's Chairman Day for the Republican National Committee State Chairman. Our Chairman's Corner, we just featured our good friend Josh McCoon of Georgia. And very insightful analysis. He's a lawyer. I'm a supporter of his, as you know, backed him in all his races. Think he's a great guy, just like I'm backing Abraham George, who'll be with us in a moment. I mean, I snuffed these guys out, and we got a couple of winners here. Josh McCoon basically laying it out for Georgia. And we're going to get our Texas gang involved here. And coming up, joining you momentarily, is going to be our Texas former chair of the Texas Republican Party, Matt Rinaldi, and the current chairman of the Texas Republican Party, Alexander George, both of them coming up. Plus, we're going to take your calls, and we're calling this the Texas Truth Line. So these guys pull no punches. They're going to take exactly what is going on. And why are we following Texas when I don't have a radio station there? Because you lose Texas, there's no country. I mean, it's as simple as that. Everything at the end of the day, that is going to be the baseline for us, and the Democrats trying to win it. They got that crazy guy Taralico running. I think Ken Paxton's MAGA 2.0. So there's a lot going on in Texas. They've got the AG's race. We understand Chip Roy closing the gap a little bit, and boy, I'd love to see Chip in there as AG. But lots to talk about in Texas, as always. Now, don't forget my big election night event coming up. Let's put the graphic up. This is going to be, mark this on your calendars, in Washington, D.C., June 16th. That's right, 6 to 9 p.m. It's going to be in City Tavern in Georgetown, the iconic City Tavern, established 1798. We understand that when he had to blow off a little steam, that George Washington went there for a couple brewskis when it first opened. So kind of an iconic place. That's going to be our election night victory party, God willing. And we got some great speakers coming out for that. June 16th, 6 to 9 p.m. It's food, it's fun, open bar. We're going to have a lot of fun there. I believe in having fun. If you're going to be a Republican and you're going to work hard and lace them up and lace them tight, you got to have a party, you got to have fun. We're going to have fun. Food, fun, that's what's going to be there. Anytime you go to a JF party and Ann's involved, there's always plenty of food. We never run out, so you don't have to worry about that. 6 to 9 p.m., June 16th in Georgetown, in D.C. at the City Tavern. We got three great speakers. Congressman Virginia Morgan Griffith is going to be with us as one of our speakers. U.S. Treasurer Brandon Beach. Can't have one of these events without him. He's going to tell you how we're going to win the midterms. And then our featured speaker, former DHS advisor to Kristi Noem, Corey Lewandowski, former President Trump campaign manager, still very much in the inner circle of President Trump's team, and he's going to be with us. Corey Lewandowski, our featured speaker. So going to have a lot of fun. Hope to get the college Republicans there. This is going to be a blast. You don't want to miss this. And all you got to do, you got to buy tickets. They're $50. Not a lot of money when you get free food and drinks. You're going to cost them out. Just go to makedccgreat.com, makedccgreat.com, and you can get your tickets there, $50 a piece, $100 for advisory committee, and $200 for a founding sponsor. So we'd appreciate your help. Come out and join us. We hope to get about 200 people there. We're going to have a lot of fun, just like they're going to have fun in Texas when they start winning everything. Joining us now, the Texas Truth Line. Matt Rinaldi is with us, former state chair, by phone, because he's God knows where in the hinterlands is Abraham George. So, Matt, you and I on video, Abraham by phone. I think he's outside of civilization. Now, Abraham, I'm going to say this because I'm your friend. See, if you had Starlink in your car, right, like I do, you had Starlink, and it's got the little mini Starlink unit that you could get just by going to sat123.com. Go to sat123.com and get that little unit. I carry it with me. You put it in your car. You open up the sun roof, or you just crack your window a little bit. You turn that thing on. Doesn't matter where you are, Abraham George. You could be anywhere in Texas. You are going to get a clean feed. I'm here to help you, dude. I'm like the purveyor of advice and goodwill. Abraham, just go to sat123.com, sat123.com. Tell them promo code Godzilla, and you're going to get a great deal on your personal travel Starlink mini unit that will keep you dialed in at all times. What do you think?
It's happening today. It's happening today.
Order it, man. It's so good. I got one. I don't leave home without it. You guys were on the bus. We got the big one on the top of there, but I got the little one. It's so small. You put in your bag and get it through security easy. You just put it on. The other day I was on Amtrak, right? Ever try getting, well, you guys are in Texas, right? So I'm in the Northeast corridor. Good luck on Amtrak getting a signal. I don't have time for that. 3-hour train ride from here to there. Boom. Put on my Starlink right by the window. Everybody was jealous of me. I kind of let some of them in because that's out of the goodness of my heart. Spread the cheer, right? So that's all good. Guys, tell us about, Matt, let's start with you. Tell us about these special sessions. We could get 12 seats. You got Governor Kemp sitting on his hands. What do you make of this whole thing, Matt Rinaldi?
It's quite interesting with the Supreme Court decision. I mean, so we got Florida now, and of course, Ron DeSantis is the best governor in the country. So in 2 days after Virginia decided to pass their maps, Ron DeSantis decides that he's going to retaliate and get Republicans some additional seats in Florida. Of course, accomplishes it in like 2 days, like he always does. What we have now is basically just it's a changing of what the redistricting fights were about over the last 50 years, or since the Voting Rights Act was passed, because now we're not forced to racially discriminate in drawing lines. Rather, we're prohibited from actually racially discriminating and drawing the lines. So it becomes a political exercise, as I'm not going to say it was intended to be, because they're intended to be more districts, but as it becomes now. So Republicans, Democrats will try to gerrymander districts in order to maximize their numbers. And, Republicans are going to win this over the long run. I don't know what's going to happen over the short run, but over the long run, there were far more Democrat gerrymandered districts than there were Republican gerrymandered districts. So Republicans have a lot more ground that they can gain and a lot more potential seats to pick up. We're going to win in the long run.
Are there any racially gerrymandered seats in Texas now?
Almost every Democrat district was up until last year. I mean, when you look at every Democrat seat, it looks like drunk spiders in the middle of urban areas. I mean, so this change in the Voting Rights Act jurisprudence in the Supreme Court is going to result in districts that look more normal, I think, certainly districts that aren't racially discriminatory. And I think overall it's going to favor Republicans.
So the 5 seats that you guys got, did that pretty much wipe out the constitutional problems you would have had with this decision?
I don't think we would have had constitutional problems with the decision necessarily. We did get a letter from the DOJ.
No, I'm talking about the other way. I'm talking about once the Supreme Court ruling came down.
Yeah.
When you already did the redistricting for the 5 seats, did that wipe out the unconstitutional districts that you had now, according to SCOTUS?
Yeah, SCOTUS didn't find any of our districts unconstitutional. We received a letter from the DOJ that there could be potential constitutional issues. Whether that's right or wrong, we received the letter, and that precipitated the redistricting. There is no problem with the 5 districts as they're currently drawn constitutionally.
Are there any additional districts in Texas to gain as a result of the Supreme Court ruling gutting Section 2.0 of the Voting Rights Act, Matt?
Absolutely. I mean, they could get a couple more seats, certainly. They were very, I think they were conservative. I don't want to say they were very conservative in drawing the districts. They were conservative. Ultimately, it's a balancing act. They could get a couple more seats, but if you have a swing election or a good year for Democrats in a midterm, you're putting some of those seats at risk too if you draw them too thin. So It's kind of a balancing act between, do you want to build yourself a big enough margin, or do you want to try to pick up a couple more seats?
Let's bring in Abraham George by phone because he doesn't have his Starlink yet. Let's bring him in by phone. By the way, Abraham George, sat123.com. You're good to go. Are I know we talked about this a week ago, but now the stakes are even higher. Those 5 seats that were redistricted, because the Democrats are saying they're going to win 2 or 3 of them. I mean, are they just blowing smoke up our butt, or are you confident those 5 seats will be in GOP hands?
Well, we're going to have to work really hard to make that happen. Democrats are going to bring in, I was told last week, that over $1 billion to Texas this cycle. So with James Talarico, they start to see that there's a possibility because he's got that personality of, Beto. So we are definitely going to have to work very hard, raise a lot of money, and get everyone activated. But I don't see us losing any of those seats. We're going to make those happen.
What is your take right now on the Paxton Cornyn race?
I don't think it has changed much. I think Cornyn's been running ads. I've seen a lot of Cornyn ads. But, the demographic that shows up to a runoff election is very different. Most of them are going to be very conservative. A lot of them are placing chairs, people like that who's activating their neighbors. So it's a different demographic. We usually don't have a lot of, it's not a huge turnout election. We just had our municipal elections, mayors, city councils, and it was a pretty low turnout election as well. So this is like our 3rd, maybe 4th election this year so far, and people get tired of going to polling locations and trying to figure out who am I supporting. So a lot of people who are not involved in politics like we do, we are. So they don't just want to keep going to polling locations. So it's going to be hard for Democrats or moderates to turn out because they really don't care that much as the conservatives do.
Matt, what do you think Chris LaCivita has up his sleeve here for John Cornyn? We're going to see some kind of a May surprise or something? Well, it is May. As we get closer.
To spend as much money as possible.
I don't know what's going on there. Matt, you may know more about that than I do.
Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, he's going to spend as much money as possible over the next few weeks. And it isn't going to work because everybody knows who John Cornyn is already, who's voting, and everybody's already made up their mind about him. So, consultants will do well. I don't think it'll change much. And to be honest, I think the betting markets right now showed it about 60-40 Paxton. I think that's probably about right. Paxton's a heavy favorite. You never know what could happen, but I don't think anything's going to change.
When is the runoff? Is what, May 26th?
Yeah, I think so. I don't remember the exact date.
Yeah, something like that. I don't think it's May 19th. I think it's May 26th, which is that before or after the holiday? I don't even know. Or maybe it's the 19th.
It's the 26th.
Is that, when is Memorial Day? Is that
the
before
26th.
Or after?
Yeah.
It's after that, or
25th. It'd be the election day's on Tuesday, right?
So you got a day off You had a day off and then the election.
Yeah.
The turnout is going to tank. I mean, people are just
Tip-
getting back from like a 3-day weekend. Last thing you're going to want to do is go to a voting booth if they're not totally motivated. I mean, that's got to
we have early voting for 2 weeks before. So
yeah,
that,
but that's
I mean,
got to
we'll
work.
still get decent turnout.
But the game day voting has got to work to Paxton's advantage. Because think about it, you're getting back from a 3-day weekend. The last thing you're thinking about is, oh, I got to go out today to vote. I didn't vote early. It's the last thing you're going to be thinking about, unless if you're a motivated voter. Don't you? I mean, doesn't that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, now here in Texas right now, you get about more than half of the people will vote early. Election day, some elections have less than 1/3 turnout. So, and unlike other states, early voting doesn't favor Democrats. So, Republicans typically win early voting and election day voting in every statewide race in Texas.
Well, that's because their chairman, Matt Rinaldi, understood the importance of early voting and pushed early voting like me. And now you got Alexander George doing it. And now you guys got to get even with the mail out ballots. And then you guys can be the model.
Well, we won the mail-in ballots.
You won everything.
Yeah,
you won everything.
We did. And we pushed that. We pushed early voting. We pushed mail-in ballots because if those are I don't like them. I think you should have election day only paper ballots. But if we're under these rules, I want to win the game.
You got to play the hand you're dealt. You got to play the game as it's out there. And I've been an advocate of this forever. So you guys are doing it in Texas, winning early voting, winning mail-out ballots. Obviously, you have a model to get these mail-out ballots back for Republicans. Can't you tell other states what the model is? Can't you tell Virginia what it is? Can't you call them up? Give me the secret sauce.
I'm sure Abraham's there if they want to call.
You guys are solving every problem. Okay, solve this problem for me. Can you get my Houston Astros a starting pitcher who can go 5 innings? Can you do that for me, Matt? You've done everything else.
I can't do that, and I wouldn't even know what to do. I'm busy watching NHL hockey right now. I can't be bothered with early season baseball.
Why are you watching NHL hockey when your team got bounced in the first round?
They got bounced horribly, but it's still more entertaining than baseball.
I did bet Minnesota in that series, not to rub it in, but anyway, I think I don't know what's going to happen. Dallas is tough, but this Wild team, man, they're really good. I wouldn't count them out. I think they got beat the first game, gave up like 10 goals or something. I think they were still hungover after beating Dallas. Anybody wants to weigh in, 888-480-JOHN, 888-480-5646. You're with the Texas Truth Line. We've got on the line by phone, because he doesn't have a Starlink, Alexander George, the current chair of the Republican Party of Texas, doing great things, and also the former chair of Texas, resident Texas rabble-rouser, Matt Rinaldi, who is with us as well. Abraham, right? Sorry, Abraham. What I say? Alexander? I'm sorry about that. Abraham George, sorry. So, Abraham, let's going into, if you look at Georgia and Brian Kemp, the governor there, then we're going to get to Abbott, not calling a special session when everybody else had. We just had your colleague on, Josh McCoon, basically, I don't know what the word was, advocating, pleading with the governor to call a special session to gain another 2, possibly 3 seats, he said, 2 or 3, which could make the difference in November between Hakeem Jeffries and Mike Johnson. What was your reaction to all of these, Abraham George?
I think every Republican state that have additional seats available, they should do it. It does not matter which state it is at this point, because like you said, it will come down to who's going to be the speaker, who's going to control the House, and are we going to have, impeachment of Donald Trump on every other week, or are we going to have a government who actually works for the people? That's the difference at this point. So it doesn't matter which state it is. If Ron DeSantis is doing it, every state, every Republican state should look at it and see it. Like Matt said earlier, Democrats have been doing it for 50 years, almost 50 years now. And look at Illinois. Trump won 43% of the people, and we have one or two representation now. That's it. Two congressional members in the Republican side in the entire Illinois. You can argue there is three, but technically it's two. So that's what we are dealing with, and Democrats have been doing it for a long time. The Republicans, it's time for them to do it. And in Texas, we have been talking about redrawing the Texas House maps. We are at 88 members. If we redraw the maps, we can easily have a supermajority of 103, 104. So it's time to play the game and do the right thing. And they've been doing it for so many years. They've been disenfranchising our people for so many decades now. And let's just go and make it happen. Why not?
Abraham, when is your convention for your reelection as chairman again?
It is June 11 to 13 in Houston. My election itself is going to be on June 12.
So let me just ask you this, right? You guys have elected everybody, got everything done. You won mail-in ballots. You won early voting. You've got all the Republicans in there. You did the redistricting. You're winning seats right and left. Obviously, you had a couple of tough special elections. I don't think Lee Wamgrass in the North Dallas was a particularly good candidate. But, you did lose that. But you're getting challenged. How do you challenge the guy that's won everything? Like, what's the rationale behind this, Matt?
Well, it's the beauty of our elections, right? I mean, you can run, just have to put your strategy together and tell people what do you really want to run for re-election for. And in my case, Matt knows this. Matt actually started this fight about 10 years ago. That is closing our primaries. And my opponent tells everyone she likes to close the primaries, but she goes to South Texas, where a place that a lot of people in the Republican Party is not sure about closing primaries. And she will go tell them, I don't really care about that. That's not a problem. So, people like titles. Some people like titles. Some people like to work. It's all, it's a beauty of our election system, and I like it. I love a good challenge. So there's a couple of people running. I think there's just one person who's running for the position, and the other guy I think he just wants to make a statement. He's got one specific issue that he is working on, which is a judicial transparency. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun election, man. That's
all right, guys. Hang in there. We got to go to a quick break. Word from our sponsors. We've got a clip from your governor coming up. Plus, we've got callers 888-480-JOHN for the Texas Truth Line. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Ponder this. We intake oxygen every time we breathe, and breathing is how we stay alive. When God first created man, he breathed life into him. Our Lord also breathed spiritual life into his apostles and filled them with the Holy Spirit at the first Pentecost. Oxygen is a source of life both physically and spiritually. It's the same with fire. Oxygen is needed in order to keep a fire burning, which begs the question, are you on fire for the Lord, or has your spiritual oxygen been extinguished? To answer this, we must go to the source. The source of our spiritual oxygen is the Lord himself. Without him, there is no life within us. Those are his words, not mine. We are called to tap into this life source by baptism, daily prayer, and receiving the sacraments, especially Holy Communion if you are a Catholic, in the state of grace. If we tap into this life source every day, our lives will be filled with the love of the Lord, our spiritual oxygen. I'm Susie Kelly, and I am passionately Catholic.
Now more than ever, it's imperative to support companies that share our conservative values. That's why I can't be more excited to tell you that I've switched my family to Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. When you switch to Patriot Mobile, you shift your support away from the leftist, woke, progressive agendas of Big Mobile. Patriot Mobile's wireless service works perfectly and seamlessly as you go about your lives with exceptional nationwide coverage that uses the same towers the main carriers use. Patriot Mobile donates a portion of every dollar earned to causes you care about, to organizations that fight for religious freedom, First and Second Amendments, sanctity of life, and the needs of veterans and first responders. Patriot Mobile has plans to fit any budget, along with great discounts for our veterans and first responder heroes, as well as multi-line users. Switching is easy. Just go to patriotmobile.com/Godzilla or call their U.S.-based customer service team, 972-PATRIOT. That's 972-728-7468. Use offer code Godzilla for free activation.
All right, folks, I need you to do something right now. Go to johnfredericksradio.com and take our brand new 2028 Republican presidential straw poll. Who do you want leading the ticket? Don't let the elites decide. Make your voice heard. While you're there, weigh in on two huge issues: eminent domain reform and President Trump's tariff policies. Are they protecting American workers or hurting growth? This is your movement, your vote, your voice, your choice. Go to johnfredericksradio.com right now and take the poll.
Folks, this is Crom Carmichael, CEO of Soul Tea. I have recently turned 77 years old. I do not take prescription drugs. I have not had to take prescription drugs, and I attribute a lot of my good health to a product that I've been taking, which is the active ingredient in Soul Tea. It's a 22% concentration of theaflavin. We did clinical trials on it 25 years ago and found that it helped lower cholesterol. We have had many hundreds of letters and emails from customers telling us how it has helped them not only manage their cholesterol, but lower their triglycerides and help them on their blood pressure. And I can't tell you how much I attribute to Soul Tea for my good health at age 77. And I encourage you to go to GodzillaHeart.com. That's GodzillaHeart.com. And use the code Godzilla at checkout, and you'll get a 50% off on your initial shipment of Soul Tea. And I promise you it will be a great help for your heart health. Thanks so much.
How much did you win at Rosie's Gaming Emporium?
Hi, I'm Jerry from Richmond. I won a $23,000 jackpot at Rosie's.
I'm Tammy. I'm from Newport News, and I just won a $5,400 jackpot from Rosie's.
Hi, my name is Kim, and I'm from Gloucester, Virginia, and I won $99,000 jackpot at Rosie's.
Are you ready? Learn more about Rosie's rewards and jackpots at rosiesgaming.com. Must be 18 or older. Problem gambling? Call 1-888-532-3500.
The Bears are who we thought they were. And that's why we took the damn field. Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass. But they are who we thought they were. And we let them off the hook.
He's the voice of Virginia.
No, you can't. You have one of the worst voices I've ever heard in my life.
And the commander of common sense.
Fire at will, Commander.
Now back to the John Fredericks Show.
Now you're right back at him. Phone lines open for the Texas Truth Line, 888-480-JOHN, 888-480-5646. You want to weigh in? Guys, let's get kind of the state of the Republican Party as you see it. A lot of great state chairmen. I've launched this new segment, Chairman's Corner, where I get a chairman a week on. Obviously, you guys are special because you got your own segment, you got your own graphic and all that good stuff. But tell me a little about Abraham, the kind of the state of the party, what you think is going on, what you think we got to work on to get better, so we have a little better feel for what we need to do going forward. Abraham George, Chairman, Texas GOP.
Well, John, the main thing we got to work on at this point is getting people to the polls. Once we have a president that's on our side and doing a lot of good things, the Republicans sit home and really doesn't show up. I mean, they think, well, everything is set and we're good in D.C. Well, the craziest thing is, in D.C., they don't do a lot of work that affects your daily life on a daily basis, right? So, property taxes set at the local level. Your school boards are here. Your city councils and mayor races, all of those happens at the local level. And Republicans are really bad at this. They don't show up. They see, okay, we got the power, we're going to stay home. So that's going to be the number one challenge for us in 2026. And to fight someone like Tallarico and Jenna Hinojosa to go and take them out and install our people, it takes a lot of money. So fundraising and getting people out to the polls is going to be the top priority for the party.
How do you feel about that, Matt?
I mean, yeah, midterm election, you always got your work cut out for you. Here in Texas, even, we got to fight hard. If you remember 2018, we had Ted Cruz come within a point and a half from Beto O'Rourke. We don't want to ever see something that close again. Since then, we've increased our margins significantly. However, in a midterm election, we're going to have to fight hard. I mean, it's huge. I think the other thing, besides obviously winning elections in November, that political parties need to do is they need to start taking some of their own power back. I mean, we've seen a waning in the power of political parties over the past 100 years, right? And it gets to the point now where people are saying, well, as chairman of a political party, your job's to win elections and nothing else. Well, no, your job's to set a platform and a set of principles that your candidates are going to run under. You need to guide the candidates. That used to be the function of political parties. It isn't anymore, and that function's been taken over by lobbyists. So that's a lot of the problems you see now. Is politicians now are guided by lobbyists, but not political parties that have a platform, and we need to change that.
Lobbyists and consultants, especially here in D.C. But you know what? You're the first one I've heard say that, and it's interesting. It's interesting that you say that because I'm running for Republican office here in Washington D.C., where we get 7% of the vote, and I actually, my chairman, Patrick Mara, who you guys know, actually threw me off the executive committee, even though he's got to put me back on after I win. Threw me off the executive committee for being on a Zoom call presenting a budget. True story. And asking him as politely as I could, hey, before I vote for the budget, can you outline the objectives of the party and what exactly we stand for before we do a budget? And they cut my mic off and then threw me off the executive committee. This is what you're dealing with in these parties. True story. I mean, you can call him up, he can deny it, but there were 30 other people on that call. And then he sends me an email and throws me off the executive committee because I asked a question about what's the goal and what do we stand for? I mean, we're getting 7% of the vote. What do we believe in? I mean, how's that out there? How does that guide our candidates? Exactly what you just said, but there's a thought process here by some in states that are blue or areas that are blue that, who cares? Let's just, keep the chairmanship and have a title. I think, as Abraham said, have a title and that's it. And
well, I mean,
it's going to take change to get rid of that attitude.
Yeah, I mean, even in Florida, surprisingly, I had people come up to me in many states. We have legislative priorities that the party passes, which then the party attempts to influence our legislators into passing those priorities, and it's a main focus. Chairs in other states were shocked we even had those, or would even dare to have those. And even in Florida, it was a controversial thing. I had a friend who was chair of a county party in Florida, and they instituted a set of legislative priorities, and the state party was being pressured by politicians not to do that. So even in a state like Florida, they haven't accomplished what the Texas Republican Party's accomplished.
Well, that's because you guys are showing that leadership. And, when I was younger, you're right. The purpose of the party leadership in the state was they defined where it was going, not just as a party, but policy-wise, right? Like, what do you stand for? What are your principles? Mm-hmm. Why should you join the party? What do you want to do in the state house? And none of that's being done now, except in a handful of states. And I think you're there. I think you guys really have understood that, and that's why your party is growing up. People are excited. People are excited to be a part of something when they believe in its mission. When the mission is simply, come to a cocktail party and vote for me so I can go to a meeting in Santa Barbara. I mean, there's basically no grassroots interest, and that's how you get 7% of the vote, I guess. I don't know, whatever. We're not here to talk about that. Let's get to cut 17, and here is your governor, Greg Abbott, blasting the hypocrisy of the Democrats. Oh, all of a sudden he got a little pep in his step. Roll it.
The other thing about this, Maria, is the rank hypocrisy by the Democrats. Listen, if you look at New England, in all of the New England states, there are millions of Republican voters, and yet there are 0 Republicans who represent New England in the United States Congress. And then look at what Obama said over the past 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, Obama was applauding Virginia for redrawing their maps to eliminate Republicans, and yet he was in shock and very critical when Louisiana is now going to draw its map to elect more Republicans. It's time for the Democrats to stop being such hypocrites and finally have everybody across the country to stop using race as a reason to draw congressional lines.
There you have it. Great Governor Abbott at his best. What did somebody light a fire under him or something? I never saw him so energetic.
Yeah, he's been he's actually had a very good term as governor the past 4 years. He's been strong. I think it was a marked improvement over the previous 4 years, and he does have a pep in his step. I think he's been doing well. I think two things he says there, right? One is talking about hypocrisy, and the second is talking about racial gerrymandering. The big issue is we should not be racially discriminating in drawing districts. That was true now. It's true for the last 50 years. They should have never extended the Voting Rights Act provisions that purportedly required us to use race in drawing districts. It's just plain wrong. Secondly, in terms of hypocrisy, I do believe the governor misses the mark here because, whenever I hear a Democrat hypocrisy argument, no kidding. They don't care. They're using political power to take over our country, and we need to use political power to take it back. They don't care if they're being hypocrites. They know they're being hypocrites. They know they're lying. They're attempting to take over a country. So I think that misses the mark in terms of the severity of the situation and what time it is as a country.
I want to be like Texas is. You guys have got this figured out. Let's get to Abraham George by phone, chairman, because he didn't go to Sat123 and order my Star link. Maybe he'll do that now that I've chided him over it. But Abraham, this is pretty interesting what Abbott said about hypocrisy. And you guys have got a state legislature, state house, where the speaker was elected by a majority of Democrats and a minority of Republicans, even though you have a massive majority in the state house. Is getting rid of that part of your platform as you run for re-election?
Well, yeah. So the party's rules clearly states that any speaker or a speaker should not get elected by Democrats, and it was put on, I believe, in 2022 when Matt was there. The problem is the caucus rules at the Republican House caucus is not strong enough to kick somebody off their caucus. I think they're changing that. They're all Republicans, and I would say about 50% of them are, for lack of a better term, as just rhinos. So we see this over and over, and it's the same thing with. I mean, I gotta be honest. Dustin Burrows has been a better speaker than Dade Phelan ever was, or Strauss or Bonin, but it still matters that how he got elected. And he did get elected by Democrats, and he's going to be at the state convention. And we actually put out a thank you for sponsoring state convention social media post. I believe it was Saturday or Sunday. Oh my God, the grassroots, man, they were upset. I got so many phone calls saying, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, he's paying $50,000. He is the Speaker of the House. He's coming in, and our policy at the convention is, hey, you pay, you get to speak for 5 to 10 minutes. And the great thing about it is, why did you all ask him? I mean, you don't get to go to the speaker's office on a given day, but he's going to be there in person. Ask him. And I think speaker is expecting some hard questions from the delegation. I don't know. I mean, I don't I'm not in
Will he
talking terms
take
with him
questions,
in a way.
Abraham? Will he take questions?
He can either take it or they're gonna yell at him anyway. So I don't know. It's probably in his best interest to go ahead and open it up. He's speaking at the Grassroots Club, so that would be probably 600, 700 people, and I think he should take questions.
When is that? What
like
day
I
is
said,
that?
I'm not.
What day is that?
That will be on Friday. So that will be Friday morning, right before my election. So that's going to be interesting how that all plays out for him and for me.
Man, I gotta go to this. I got to get this figured out. I have got to go to this thing. This is going to be hilarious.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. He's speaking on to the general session on Thursday. Then on Friday morning, he's sponsoring the Grassroots Club breakfast. And his narrative is what I found out from his consultant is he is a grassroots guy. He used to be a precinct chair. Probably true. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure 99% of the convention delegation is going to disagree with him that he's a grassroots guy. But it's what it is. I said, hey, come on in, ask him the questions you want to ask him. Because I did my part by spending about $50,000 in his district running ads against him, and he ran for a speaker.
Yeah, you were taking a beating for that. Not the ads, the convention speech. But I mean, if listen, you were taking a beating for it. I think unduly. I mean, I had John Cornyn speak at my convention, and then he just got booed by the delegates. But hey, I mean, you're a Republican. You get to speak at the convention if you help put it on, and definitely welcomed his participation. I think you were right in welcoming Burrow's participation, and the people are right in letting them know how they feel. But if I'm Burrows and I come in there talking about how I'm a grassroots person, they're going to laugh in his face. Because obviously he's not anymore because he solicited Democrat support to become speaker. Now, he could turn it into a big win. If I'm him, I could become the most popular politician in the state. If I go in front of that convention general session and say, right off the bat as my first statement, I'm Dustin Burrows. I am not going to take Democrat support for my speakership this next election. And that's it. Everything changes.
That's great advice, and you're not even his consultant. But he's not going to do that because if he did, he wouldn't be speaker. He'd get voted out the next.
No, he would not. He would absolutely win as speaker. He would win as speaker with Republican support. Absolutely, he would win as speaker because he would get every Republican vote. The reason why he pulled Democrat votes was so that he could become speaker instead of the Republican nominee. It was an end move around the Republican nominee. Now he's the Republican nominee. So get elected with Republican support and take any Democrats who want to jump on board.
Has he been a good speaker? Has he helped Republicans? Because the last I heard, I'm not there, I'm in DC, but the last I heard is he put a bunch of Democrats in charge of committees. He split the committees up and he watered the whole thing down.
I'll take it. I mean, I'll take this instead of Abraham, but he's been a better speaker than Dade Phelan. Has he been a good speaker? No, he still empowered Democrats. He did a couple things that were show changes in order to pretend that Democrats had less power, but in reality, they don't. In some ways, they have more power. For example, we used to have Democrat chairs of committees. He said, we're going to ban Democrat chairs of committees. But we're going to allow Democrat chairs of subcommittees and require that every committee have a vice chair. And that vice chair can call hearings on whatever topics they want. So effectively, Democrats can hold show hearings.
Semantics.
Exactly, semantics. So, instead of twisting yourself up, run a Republican-controlled chamber, use your majority Republican support. He can easily consolidate support now and get that Republican majority. He'll have the support of the members. He'll have the support of the grassroots if he does it. And if his consultant's telling him something different, he's a bad consultant.
Do you have to be a House member to be the speaker?
I don't know if technically you do, but everyone always is. I'm
if you
pretty
don't,
sure you do.
You should run for speaker against him. Matt?
I would get no votes. Unfortunately, it's about as hard to elect a conservative speaker in the Texas legislature as it is in Congress.
We got all conservatives in there. That's what nobody can understand. Like, why don't you have the most conservative legislature in the country, like Florida?
Right. I mean, and the reason why Florida does is because you have a governor that's pressuring them to be conservative. Right. It isn't that they organically came up with a bunch of conservative legislators. Ron DeSantis goes away. They're not as conservative as they are right now. You see that in the Texas Senate. You have Dan Patrick, who's our lieutenant governor, who's a strong conservative leading that body. And the senators magically, even the ones who are horrible House members, are suddenly conservative senators. It's amazing when leadership and the pressures that are placed upon you lead you to be conservative. Even the biggest squishes can be conservative. And that's something to learn. I mean, that's something Burroughs can learn too. If he wants the adoration of not only the lobby, but actually the grassroots and actual Republicans.
So you think if he go, first of all, Abraham, George Chairman, before he speaks, just be sure the check clears. That would be number one piece of advice I give you. Be sure it's a check clears or it's a wire, because he's going to get booed when he gets in there. But and I don't think you should get abused for that. I think you should be heralded because, part of what we talk about is letting everybody speak. Like I just told you the story where I asked 2 questions, got attacked personally, got insulted unmercifully by my chairman, cut off my mic and threw me off the committee because I asked 3 questions, all legitimate and all professional. Out. So I commend you for having him there. He is the speaker. He should have the opportunity to be there. And if you have a $50,000 rule to get money to run your party, then that's fine. So I commend you for doing that. But then I love your advice here, Matt. Just say, hey, I'm going to run a speaker and I'm not going to accept any Democrat votes at all. I'm going to run as a Republican speaker. I mean, maybe he changes it. Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it certainly would be historic, and it's what we've been trying to do. We've been trying to change the incentive structure so that we don't have a uniparty speaker, and instead we have a Republican speaker, like in Congress. And then Democrats run their own candidate, but they don't run a Republican.
Right. Well, listen, I mean, they should run their own. We should run our own. But I commend the current chairman for, all voices, all Republicans have to have a place, right? And so they should be allowed to speak. And hopefully, I think we're going to try to be there, but hopefully the delegation will be respectful. And but I don't think so. He'll probably get it. I remember I went to a convention in Georgia. I think it was in Savannah. Yeah, it was in Savannah. I think memory serves me. Don't know when it was. Josh was not the chairman, but it was after Kemp wouldn't do the special session for the voting thing. Anyway, Kemp goes in there to speak because, I mean, it's a Republican convention, right? And oh my God, he got booed and heckled off the stage. He couldn't talk. The boos were so loud, he could not speak and he had to leave. So, I mean, that's not helpful. But that's probably what's going to happen, right?
Well, when John Cornyn came up, I know he said to me, I'm just going to read my speech and plow right through it. And he got booed for the entire 10-minute speech and just read from the teleprompter. Incredibly uncomfortable. I remember my 4-year-old son was in the audience and my wife got a video of him. He was just going along with the booing, eating popcorn, having a good old time.
That's how to bring your son up right, dude, right there. Get right involved with the boos and the heckles. Now you'll do good at a Dallas Stars game, right? You'll fit right in. Get him to the hockey game. Get that going. All right. Well, look, guys, we're almost out of time, but Abraham George, Chairman, Texas GOP, we're going to give you the final word here. I commend you for letting the guy speak. I think you ought to do that. Do you have any other controversial speakers there other than Dustin Burroughs?
Well, we have the governor. I mean, I don't think he's going to get booed, but there's a lot of people who are not very happy with him. I mean, Matt is absolutely correct. When it comes to this term that he's in today, he's been a lot more conservative.
But at the same time, he did close the state down in 2020. The argument is, well, Trump asked him to. Well, maybe, but he is the governor. So it's all of those things kind of comes together for people. Our delegation, grassroots, really don't forget a lot of things. They see all of that, and they see the person on the stage saying something like, I am a grassroots person. Everyone's like, no, you're not. So it will be I don't think he's going to get booed, but there are some pushback about, governors coming to the convention, which is kind of strange in my opinion. The governor should be able to come to the state, to the convention, and should be there. I mean, regardless of he's paying for it or not. But, he's sponsoring the convention along with the lieutenant governor and obviously the speaker. So it's going to be very interesting.
I can't wait to go. I tell you what, guys, I want to thank you. This has turned into such a great segment. Thank you for doing this for us, because it gives our entire national audience tremendous insight into what is going on in a state party as big and as important and as pivotal as Texas. I want to thank Abraham George for being with us, Texas GOP chairman. Former chairman Matt Rinaldi got thrown out. He got thrown out of everything. They're always trying to throw him out. He should be the speaker, though. Guys, thanks for being with us.